Hey, what's up? This is Chet Zar. I'm hosting this podcast, the Dark Art Society podcast. Today, we have the incredible, the amazing David Stoupakis, the David Stoupakis interview. We had a great time chatting, went over 2 hours, super fun catching up. We hadn't spoken in over a year, at least not face to face or Skype to Skype. So that was great. David's amazing, super great person and great artist, and just it was a pleasure. Really another great episode. I'm telling you, the podcast has been on a roll lately. I don't know what it is. Yeah, so that was exciting. That was fun. What's going on here? The coronavirus craziness. Yeah, I hope everyone's safe and doing well out there. I've been saying this all along. My day-to-day is not very different than normal, other than, sterilizing groceries and stuff like that. And, doing a lot of hand washing, but we're not really going out, so just kind of working through these tool posters, and I had to take a break and finish. I had to do a painting for an online show that I agreed to a long time ago that I forgot about. You can see that on my Patreon. I just posted it. Patreon.com/Chet Zar if you're interested. That's about it. I can't think of anything else exciting. Oh, I saw a great documentary the other night that I wanted to recommend. It is called, what was it called? Let me find it. It was about that guy Ram Dass, spiritual teacher dude. Becoming Nobody. That is the name of the movie, Becoming Nobody. And I bring it up because he speaks a lot about death and dying, and I feel like this coronavirus thing has really brought about a lot of anxiety about death, and we're freaking out because we don't want to die, we don't want to get sick, and we don't want to die, but the thing is, we're still going to die. It's happening whether we get sick from coronavirus or not at some point. And anyway, the documentary, and this is true, I think, of a lot of his teachings. I was always an Alan Watts guy more than a Ram Dass guy. So I've read books of his. I've heard his stuff before, but it's been a while, and so I watched this documentary, and very focused on death, and it just was in a very positive way. And I encourage people, especially people who are feeling anxiety about this subject, you should watch this documentary. I'm not even going to try and tell you about it other than that, but it's great. Highly recommended. What's it called? I forgot already. That's how much I liked it. No, seriously. Beyond, sorry. Ram Dass documentary. Beyond, I just said it a couple seconds ago. I want to come up. Oh, Beyond. Becoming Nobody. Becoming Nobody. Okay. It's got all kinds of other, spiritual type things, but really good, solid information on there. I loved it. Okay, let's get on with the new Patreon subscribers. We've only got 3. People are starting to drop since this drop off the Patreons since this thing started, which I totally understand. So no hard feelings if you have to drop this thing. It's I understand things are getting weird, but for those of you who hang in there, and those of you who, new subscribers, you're very much appreciated, more than ever now, actually, since goes without saying, I guess, but thank you. So we have John and some looks like Korean characters, which I can't read, but it says John. Thank you, John. Very cool. With a sorry, he deleted his. I didn't mean to out you there. I just I understand. I thought you were a new subscriber. Okay, we only got 2 then. Caleb Osgood Deal. Thank you, Caleb. So we got 2 new subscribers. If you want to subscribe, you can go to patreon.com/darkartsociety and join for as little as $1 a month. And we have a new feature thanks to Steve Clef. We did this last week, and it was really, really cool. So once you join the Dark Art Society Patreon, you get access to not only the website, which we're really, we've got this great website built, but we're trying, we haven't gotten to a point where we're able to drive traffic there from the secret Facebook page yet. So we're going to figure out a way to do that this year. But you get access not only to the website, but to the secret Dark Art Society cooperative group. Now, this new feature that we started for Patreon members only is a Friday night live art jam on using the Zoom app, which is a free app you download. And like I said, Steve Clef, who's a great artist, Dark Art Society member, he put this together just, I think, on a whim, and gave the link and password out in the Dark Art Society cooperative page. And it's basically just a bunch of people on Zoom creating art and just chatting. So it went. I went on. It starts. Let me see. We're going to start doing this every Friday because it was so much fun. A lot of people showed up. I'm sure it was like 30 at one point. We're on there. And it was just like we were all hanging out and talking. David and I talk about this on the podcast because David was one of the artists that showed up. I mean, we had some name artists, which was great. Names that you might know, like David Stoupakis and Vanessa Lemon showed up, and Dos Diablos showed up. And I hope I'm not missing any others because I'm going to feel bad if I do. Well, I'm sorry if I missed you, but so it was. But we were all just on there talking about whatever, art stuff, hanging out. And apparently it went on until 5 a.m. I had to leave early because I had to get back to doing my posters, but I was on for about 3 hours, and I was the main screen. I was painting this painting that I mentioned. It's called, what's the painting called? A demonic interlude. That's what I called it. And I painted it live on the Zoom channel. And so there's like a main screen of someone's work being created, and then there's a bunch of little screens you could see what people are doing or see their faces and say hello to them. And we were just all talking about all kinds of stuff. It was really incredible. So another good reason to join the Dark Art Society Patreon. We're going to start doing this once a week, every Friday. So it's really fun. Okay, what else? I guess that's it. Okay, that's all. I have no more pearls of wisdom to give you. Just kidding. Yeah, I got nothing. Okay, let's get on with it because this interview is really good, really fun, and you're going to love it. All right. Thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoy this episode with the amazing David Stoupakis. What's up, David?
How's it going, Chet?
It's
Thank you for
great.
having me on the show, man.
Thank you. You should have been the first guest on the show, really, because the whole reason this show started is because I was inspired by your old podcast. So, you
You had
know,
us. You had me and the other guy on early on in the
did we?
beginning. I think. Yeah, yeah.
No. I
I think you
think
had
we
us
were.
on.
I think we were on your show
Okay. Okay.
because I was.
I thought you guys had us on at one point.
Hmm.
You, but
Could be.
either or, I'm here now,
It's been 3 years, so.
and I'm stoked, man. You got such a great thing going on, man. The Friday night thing that you got going on, dude.
Well, that just started. That was the first time I had done it on Friday.
That was amazing, amazing. Just like I felt like I was back in art school without the stress. You know what I
Right.
mean, in the sense of just like a bunch of artists hanging out, shooting the shit,
Yes.
everybody
yes.
working. Because it took me a while to realize at first, like that I was like, oh my god, everybody's working on something. This is amazing.
Yeah. It's
Cool.
super fun. And it was really cool that you came on and Vanessa Lemon and Dos Diablos ended up coming on. So for the other people who aren't maybe aren't at your level, professional level yet, but they kind of want to be there. It was like cool
Yeah.
to be hanging out with these art stars,
Yeah,
painting and
yeah.
stuff.
Quotations. Yeah.
It was great. I mean, so it was really cool for everybody else as well. I certainly, it didn't even occur to me that anybody, famous was going to turn up on it. It was just like,
Yeah.
hey, let's do something for the Dark Art Society community. And then, we got all these kind of some big names on there. So it was really
Well, what an
awesome.
amazing way to like share tips and
Mhm.
to like just talk about everybody's process and whether you're starting out or you've already been in the game for a bit or
Right.
how it
Yeah.
is dealing with gallery. Oh, dude, it was great. It's
Yeah, I
great.
heard that you guys went late. I had to dip out pretty
I
early.
got a little thick in the paint too. So, I woke up the next morning going,
So are you painting it? Do you use a liquid or a medium or?
I use pretty much just linseed oil, and I
Oh,
just started using refined linseed oil, which I don't even know if there's like a big difference. And also too, I usually keep my linseed oil out without a lid on it, like like the stuff
so
that I'm using
so it thickens
and
up.
that. So I'm sure it probably thickens up in
Hmm.
that because I think the refined is well, it's refined, right? I
Right.
guess it's thinner, but
Oh.
I hardly ever use liquid just because uh, one time I think it made me sick, and
Hmm.
and also too. But the biggest thing that I have a problem with it is that I always feel like I got to cut it with another medium
Interesting. Really?
because I feel like it goops up on me too quick,
Oh.
you know.
Oh.
And
Okay.
I use gambling, I think, for the liquid. Yeah, I use yeah.
Gamsol?
But no, the
Oh,
wait,
Galkid?
oh, Galkid,
Yeah,
Galkid.
yeah.
I have used liquid before, but Galkid's similar, right?
Yeah, but Galkid was one that I was trying out for a while because Sean Barber was a big Galkid guy, and he was thinning his with terps. So I tried using it straight, and it would
Too.
dry on me. Like I felt like it started to thicken up while I was painting, and it was messing me up. But so I ended up kind of going back to liquid because of that. But I've been thinking about linseed oil more because I've painted maybe one painting with linseed oil, and just liquid works so well with me that I just haven't tried much else. So I mean,
And you don't cut the liquid at all with anything?
no, it's
Yeah.
pretty.
I gotta try it again
Yeah,
then.
it's got a good consistency. Sometimes I can thin it down a little bit, but it's like Galkid is like syrup kind of,
Yeah.
and
Liquid's a
li-
lot thinner.
it's not even that it's thinner. It's weird. It's like more gloppy, but
Yeah.
it's so you can put it in a pile and it'll stay like a pile. It won't run
Hmm.
like a
All over the yeah, like if you're putting out linseed oil or something where it just
right.
spread around.
Yeah, but it feels thinner than it's not syrupy though. It's a trip. But I mean, if you got it going on with linseed oil, I wouldn't
Well, my
I
problems
wouldn't
are though is that like
change that.
like all of us artists, we run into the situation with a deadline for a show or something like that, and that's where it can run into a problem
Right.
where I'm putting the paintings up against the cast iron heater, or
Yeah.
trying to do whatever I can. Summertime's not too bad because it usually gets hot enough in the
Right.
studio that it will dry overnight, or at least be dry enough to move on to whatever else I need to kind of get to,
Yeah.
you know. But now that you're saying that, it makes me definitely, once this chaos that's happening around us all mellows out and I can get back to the art store. Well, I guess I could order online too, but to try out linseed oil. I mean,
Liquid.
liquid again.
I've got liquid layer, like a pass. I've had to finish a painting and I had to do it in layers for whatever reason because I just couldn't get what I wanted in one sitting. I ended up drying it in front of a heater, just putting it like a foot away from a heater. I was getting layers to dry in 30 minutes, which is like kind of like acrylic almost, you know? And
absolutely.
I'd do my layer, put it in the bathroom with the door closed, turn the heater on. As long as it's not too close to warp the...
Yeah, to warp the board or start melting the paint or lighting it on fire, fumes and
I couldn't believe it. Like same with sunlight. You can put it out in sunlight and sometimes get it dry in 30 minutes to an hour, which is kind of amazing. I haven't seen any other medium that will go that fast.
So when you work like the one that you just posted on your Patreon now, when you work like that, that'll be dry by the next day.
Yeah,
no matter
totally dry. Yeah. It's always liquid. It's like that's why I never strayed from it, because it's always totally dry the next day when I go to start. It's not even an issue anymore because of that.
Yeah.
And I paint kind of thin too. I'm not very thick with the paint. So
yeah, me neither. Yeah.
I want to. I mean, Mark Ryden says he uses linseed oil because just the safety factor, because it's not toxic. So I
for the breathing. I thought like for like the longevity of the work or something.
And the longevity also, but for breathing and stuff and getting it.
Yeah, I hear so many different approaches to that, where it's like, when you build an underpainting, you shouldn't use any medium, or if anything, maybe just a little bit of terps. When you a lot of people will start a painting with raw umber or something like that. You actually do that yourself, and then, but like as you're working on a painting, try to use as less medium as possible because it'll break down over time. But I don't know, because like William Bouguereau, he's somebody that there's no way in heck he didn't probably use a ton of medium on his work.
Yeah,
just because of these translucent skins and
Yeah. I think linseed oil is pretty regarded as a safe traditional medium to do glazing and stuff with. Like it's gonna last. But I see what you're saying though. It's because that's the fat over lean thing, right? Where it's
exactly. Yeah.
I could never understand what that meant up until maybe 5 years ago. So like the first 15 years, I knew the principle, but it just was not making sense in my brain. I just could not. I kept getting it reversed and confused. And is it more medium after, less, blah, blah. What does fat mean? It's like I couldn't figure it out. And then I finally, somehow it was explained to me and I got it. But
I probably watched a YouTube video and I was like, oh, okay, I get it now.
But I mean, I got paintings from 2002 that I still have that are not, they haven't cracked. They haven't done anything, almost 20 years old, and they're fine. The only thing I used to do, which was such a mistake, is I used to paint liquid on over all my paintings, like a varnish, instead of varnishing the way you're supposed to. And there are some of those old paintings, I look at them and it's like, they've yellowed and you can kind of see the brush strokes.
Yeah. I got one hanging right there. It looks all right still, but yet it's kind of shady.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's passable, but still, you want to do it right. Funny. But anyway, so how are you holding up there in the middle of the zone?
I'm good, man. I to be truthful, it's I'm definitely freaked out. I have really bad OCD, so that's definitely boosted that whole kind of.
Do you have the germy OCD or?
I'm more of like a light switch and like make sure the stove's off type of thing
Oh
before
yeah,
I
yeah.
go to bed or if I leave
Hmm.
the house. And I'm more of that kind of guy.
Right. Same
But
here.
uh, but I'm definitely, definitely, if I come home from somewhere, regardless of what's going on right now, I've always been one of those people, especially living in New York City, you're grabbing onto, the train
Yeah.
posts, whatever, and you're grabbing on handrails and everything else,
Yeah.
doors. So I've always been like a hand washing guy or whatever. But now it's like, every single time I come home, I got to bleach all the doorknobs. I'm
Right.
hitting all the light switches. I'm, washing my hands. I was like, oh God, maybe I didn't wash them good enough.
Right.
So I'm getting a little crazy, but I'm good. Um, but it's definitely getting super intense here. We have so many cases of it,
Yeah.
and not to say, I mean, it's got terrible what happened to Italy, terrible
Right.
China, and all over the world what's going on, and unfortunately everybody's going to be getting hit pretty hard. I
Right.
think once it's just going to keep getting bigger and
Yeah. Last I heard, it's like the next 4 weeks are supposed to be
yeah.
crazy. So.
Yeah, we got they said I think like 21 more days or something here before hopefully we start,
Right.
coming down off of it. So,
Yeah, but you're like kind of in the middle, right? I mean,
yeah, I'm in
physically
Queens.
where you
So yeah,
there's a lot in
yeah,
Queens.
I'm in New York City, and I'm still super close to the city where everybody's stacked upon everything. Like where I live is very city-ish. It's not like a suburb because Queens is so big that like you can be way out in Queens and be like more in suburbia or
Oh,
whatever.
really? I didn't
And
know that.
yeah, Queens I think is the biggest borough. I could
Hmm.
be wrong though. But so it's I mean we had like right from the beginning we had over like 3,000 cases, like I mean not from the beginning, but like we hit 3,000 like right away just in Queens.
Really? In
Yeah,
Queens alone?
yeah,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
And yesterday I didn't watch today, but yesterday I knew we had over 30 over just Manhattan, like not Manhattan, New York City
Mhm.
proper had over like 33,000 cases.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Shit.
so yeah, I've been keeping my going out super limited. Other than I got enough food for uh probably like 4 weeks now. You
Oh,
know,
good. Good.
and that so hopefully not gonna have to really go out at all, other than maybe just to go take a walk and stay the fuck away
Right.
from people.
Yeah.
So there's side streets you can do that around here. We don't have to walk down the main drag and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. We've still been
But
walking and walking the dog and all
you
that,
gotta,
taking a
you gotta.
drive. But that's the thing though. It's like you guys don't take drives. You guys don't have cars.
Yeah,
Most New Yorkers don't have cars. And it's
yeah.
like,
We have one, but it's
oh,
only
you do?
used. Yeah, like if I got to go do the Home Depot, do like a big hardware store run, or for like frames, or
Right.
like if I'm going to buy a bunch of art supplies and that, which I got to start just buying online. I don't know why I don't, but
Yeah.
I'll drive the car into the city or something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
But
Okay.
very rarely though, very rarely. And then it's good if we do want to get the,
Yeah.
make a break, whatever, or just me and her. A lot of times we'll just be like, let's just get out of here,
Right. Right.
So,
Well, that's good. That's
but
good.
yeah, so it's good to have it, but yeah, but it's also stressful to have it because you always gotta usually move it all the time, or
Oh, you don't have
whatever.
like a parking
I do.
space?
We got one sweet spot that's like down it's about maybe 15 blocks away, and like you can. That's where the car is now,
Shit.
and that so we park it down there. That has I don't know if they're privately owned streets or something like that, but
Hmm.
there's no alternate side parking. But I've been in New York for 20 or 21 years now,
Wow.
and that our first place, man. Uh, we've had 3 places since I lived here, but our first place, I probably, within 1 year, probably had like, I don't know, a shit ton of money in like parking tickets because it's always sleep. I'll get it tomorrow. Yeah, so much waking up.
Yeah, wow. Wow.
So,
I've never I don't know if I've ever been to Queens. Like I don't know the geography of New York,
yeah,
the
yeah.
New
Well, you've
York
probably
City
just
at
been in
all.
Manhattan, right?
Yeah, I went to Last
Yeah.
Rites Gallery, and there was that bar that they take people to after.
Back in the day, yeah. I think it was
Yeah.
called. Well, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it was called Lit.
Lit, yeah. They had like a
Rob.
weird mascot, like this old man, a T-shirt, like this weird
Oh no! Wait a second. Maybe that was Duff's.
Duff's. That's what it was. That's
Yeah,
what it
Duff's
was.
in Brooklyn. So you
That's
went
in
to Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like to me.
Like a good rock bar.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
metal bar.
yeah. There was Paul took me behind. Me and Tara McPherson was there, and he took us in the back behind the scenes, behind the bar, and
Yeah.
there was a Giger painted guitar.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Wow. Just
Yeah,
like hanging out.
yeah, just hanging out. He's like, check this
Wow.
out. Pretty cool. But that was the time I went to New York one other time working on some film shoot, and I was barely there, and so I didn't like get New York. And then that time I went out for the Last Right show, it's like I totally got why New York is so amazing. I was like, oh my god, this place is so awesome.
Yeah.
Like I loved it.
Yeah, it's good. I'm good to go though.
Yeah.
After you start getting older, it's just like oh,
Yeah, right.
all right. I've ridden enough train. I could be out in the country, but Aprella's kicking ass out here, like what she's doing. She's involved with a studio out here and all that stuff. So we're in here for the long haul. But it's great. But I want to ask you, so do you miss that industry at all?
Yeah. Once in a while, I'll see a movie or something, or I got us to work on I had an opportunity to work on the Dark Crystal, and I couldn't do it. It was weird. It was like
I can't bring myself to do it. Yeah.
I can't take 3 weeks off so I can't stop everything. I've got so much all these balls in the air with this art career, so I had to turn it down, which was really weird.
Yeah.
So. And that would have been amazing. That would have been an amazing one.
And I'm sure you've been probably working with a lot of old friends.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody I knew was all my old buddies, from Rick's and stuff were working there. So it was kind of a bummer. But every once in a while, I'll start missing it, kind of. And I miss. It's more like I was talking to Steve Wang. I interviewed Steve Wang. I don't know if you know Steve.
Is Steve the one who does the giant heads?
No, that's Kazu. That's Kazu.
Okay, Kazu.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta have Kazu on too. But Steve designed the Predator. He designed the original Predator. He's like legend sculptor, amazing artist, just genius. And we worked together at Rick's and stuff. And actually, I started missing it when we were on there because we were just bullshitting about old times in the film business, and it got me realizing how much fun it was. It really was like you come into work and there's music playing. It's a bunch of artists sitting sculpting monsters all day. I mean, it's pretty great as far as jobs go, and everyone's talking, just talking about whatever, the latest thing in the news or what movie just came out. And it was just like, it really was fun. So I miss the social aspect of it. But then I have another...
Baraka, I can't even say the word, but the word that means like just dealing with the shit, like that probably wasn't fun. Like in the sense of,
that's what I was getting. The politics and
yeah.
all the bullshit.
Politics.
Yeah. I have
what's that word I'm thinking of? Bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy.
Okay, there you go.
You got it.
Yeah.
I have a friend, Neil Wynn, who still works in the industry, and I have a lot of friends that still work in the industry, but I talk to Neil kind of a lot, and he's always kind of, every time I talk to him, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I left.
Yeah.
Because he's in the midst of it, dealing with it, and it's like, there's so much heartbreak and bullshit. It's like it's almost as good as it is bad in a way, because you work. We talked about this with the Steve Wang episode. You work on something for 6 months, and you have the most amazing creature, and you put all your heart and soul into it, and it's just like this incredible, beautiful thing, and you don't even see it in the movie. Like you see it for 2 seconds, and you can hardly tell. And it's just
tell what it is, or where it gets shot, because it was a lot. I was doing video games for a while, and that's like a lot of the things that I would deal with would be like, I'd work on something for 6 months, and then finally the project would change, and then it would no longer be, if those characters I was designing would no longer need it for what we were doing anymore. So it's just like, the thing that blew my mind was like how much money was just constly being wasted.
Oh, me too, man. That's exactly like the movie business. It's like I worked on, I've told this before, I've worked on Men in Black 2. I designed this character that had like CG parts CG'd out so that it had this weird shape, that couldn't be human. It was a guy in a suit, but we, got rid of, we were supposed to get rid of a bunch of parts digitally to make it all crazy looking. And I'm sure I spent, it must have been like 2 or 3 months maybe working on this. I had a kind of a sculptor assisting me. I painted it. We had a mechanic built this mechanical head. All this, a lot of money, probably. I'm sure it was could have been $100,000 maybe. They spent on it.
Just like, see you later.
And they didn't even use it. They took it on set one time, and then it was in the airport scene, and they were going to have him walking across the airport, but it's like there was parts sticking out with a guy in a green suit. And they were like, they just put him on set because it was just like a madhouse. And finally, I think Rick was like, no, you can't shoot that like that. That has to be shot on a green screen. It's got to be cut out. And so they're, oh, sorry. And then they pulled him off, and then that was it. Okay, get him out of the suit. And then that was it. But luckily, they ended up putting him in Men in Black 3. So it finally got to be seen.
Right
you could actually see it. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, it's like that. Every show is like that, There's some in it. We don't want to get into a bitch fest here because it's just.
Oh no! Of course. It's just fun to.
I could go on. It's just that I could take the whole show over with bitching about movie stuff. I don't want to do that. I want to get into. Totally. I want to get into you. I want to get into your life. I want to get into. I want to hear about. How did you start on the artist path? I'm sure it was early for you. I imagine.
Yeah. Like. For us all, it's usually, it starts on really early on. I had just watching cartoons and trying to emulate Bugs Bunny or cartoon trying to draw, look at TV and draw it as quickly as possible, and you'd be like, wow, that's awesome, but it probably looked fucking nothing like it or whatever, but you just keep on getting better and watching Bob Ross and trying to pencil to that because I probably wasn't even using paints that young or something. But another thing with me is I very early on within the second grade, I had a pretty severe learning disability. So ended up getting kept back, and so art was became to be a super salvation. I think it's a salvation for anybody. I don't think you have to have any problems to kind of get there. If you love art,
life
then
is
it's
fucked up. Fucked up enough for everybody.
Right? Exactly. But what happened was that I would, from that, because of my learning disability, I would have to be in special programs. So I constantly went from school to school to school. So art for me was one of my ways of making friends and kind of getting to know people, whatever, because, they go, oh, what are you drawing? And all that stuff, be drawing G.I. Joe, whatever it was, Star Wars shit and that. And so it ended up being my way to just kind of get in there, and start to kind of know people. But I was doing it, from the get-go, from as long as I can remember,
I assumed as much. That must have been really hard dealing with that, right? Wasn't was it? How do you deal with something like that as a kid? Because I'm sure people just start treating you differently and teasing and all that shit.
Yeah, you're the stupid kid, or you got problems, everybody knows that classroom's where the dumb kids go, whatever.
That's so awful. It must have been really painful.
Yeah, I still had a really good crew of friends when I would come back home from being away from school. So I'd always just that always brightened up.
It was
everything.
It was like a separate life. Like you had two different lives. What a trip.
Yeah. Completely. I'd never even thought about it like that, but it's totally the truth. It was two completely different lives. I made some great friends out of those situations as well, going to those schools and stuff. A couple that I still even know today.
That's cool.
So and then from there, it just I got super into comic books very early on, and then I wanted to get into that industry, especially when Image broke and all that stuff, and at 92, 91, or I forget what it was. But so spent a long time trying to get into that. Got tons of rejection letters. And
Oh, so you were
tons, yeah.
what was this like?
Stack of them like this. It's awesome.
What was this like? High school? Just out of high school, or what?
No. This is right. Yeah, right out of high school. So yeah, I think it was like 90, 91 into 92 or something like that.
Okay.
And then so it was out through that time that and then I did a year before I dropped out in college at the Art Institute of Boston, and it was so beneficial. Like there's a part of me that's very, very grateful that I left, but there's also part of me that was also disappointed now when I look back, because I'll never forget when I went through like my figure drawing book, like those big white sketch pads that you get.
Yeah.
And I was going through that. And within just like, so one notebook would last you probably, I don't know, a couple months or something like that.
Right.
And I would look through them all and I would just see this progression, just taking off from like where I could hardly draw into like, this, like, whoa, that's actually kind of decent,
That's awesome.
And
man.
so where, I think the structure of school is unbelievable, like, because you have to be constantly, if you don't have your own kind of willpower and just kind of, want and drive to do it, then, school's great. But so I dropped out because I just didn't like the whole vibe. And I think at that point I was just sick of school anyway.
Yeah, right.
So and I was going locally. I was going to Boston and stuff. So because I'm from Massachusetts and
that's right.
So I ended up and then that's kind of when the comic book thing happened, because when I went to college I majored in illustration, because I was like, well, what do I think I could actually get a job doing with art, So I was like, okay, I'll do illustration. And then I had painting as like a minor. And so that's where the comic book stuff started. And then that kind of grew into complete frustration, because I was like, would pencil everything and then I would pen and ink everything, and then if I would mess up a pen and ink, then I'd like redo everything. And back then it wasn't like I was printing out like the blueprint drawings and then like I was like always inking over the original like sketches and stuff. So I'd be like, no, it was crazy because I never wanted to use whiteout. I mean, I'm sure I use it here and there and stuff, but like, so my buddy I was sharing a studio with, my friend Chris, he was like, dude, because he was painting with acrylic the whole time, and he was working on these giant fucking paintings and like just having so much fun. He was like, dude, you gotta paint, man, you gotta paint.
Wow.
So from there, that's when I finally I didn't give up doing the comic book thing. It just slowly kind of transitioned. Like I was doing like, collage and then pen and ink and then paint and, all sorts of different stuff. And then I started getting into just doing more traditional, just straight up acrylics, like just acrylic paintings and that. And then my father was like, why are you painting with acrylics? You gotta paint with oils. And I was
Really?
like, all right. Yeah, because he was an oil painter. So.
Oh, really? Your dad was an oil painter?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff did he do?
A lot of figurative stuff. A lot of like he would do some nature stuff too, like birds and animals,
So like
all
realism,
different kinds of animals.
kind of?
Yeah, definitely realism.
Wow. That's so cool.
The craziest thing, Chet, is that I can look at his older work and I can see my early because he never really completely stuck with it. He started painting when he was in the service, and then when he got out of the service, I think he kind of painted maybe a little bit longer, but then kind of gave it up. And that, but I can see, he was getting really fucking good at it, right? But I can see within his figurative work, with my old figurative work, you see the same kind, and this is before I would even see his paintings, or like it wasn't like I wasn't even like studying his work, but I could see like the same form and the same shape of way that I was painting eyes and noses and mouths, and it was pretty wild how like
genetics.
Yeah, if it's genetics or if I'm just crazy and I'm thinking I'm seeing things that aren't maybe really there, but yeah, so that was pretty wild, But then that's how the whole kind of that's how I got into like, I'm sure we all dabbled in paintings, whether it was watercolors. I mean, I even got when I was really young, had oil paints and stuff like that, experiment. But I found some of those before, and they're just like, I was trying to do those Bob Ross paintings. It was just like mud.
You have those still?
Mixing, like, I got like two of them.
Oh my God, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
So, and I'm sure my mother has a bunch of them too. But yeah. So yeah.
I remember the first time I remember kind of experiencing oils were these paint by numbers that came with oil paints.
That came with oil paints? I remember
Yeah.
the paint by numbers, but it was the acrylic. I mean, not acrylic, but water based.
Right. No, these were oil
Wow.
paints, which was really weird because I remember the smell and I remember they took forever to dry. I used to love those paint by numbers, like Pirates of the Caribbean, Disney one that sort of like
Yeah.
pirate skeletons and shit like that. And yeah, I remember oils from back then. And then my dad was a painter, my stepdad. So when he moved in, I was like 9 or so. There was just oil painting going on every day in the den, and it just smelled like linseed oil, and that was just kind of part of my existence, you know. But
now, did he teach you a lot of tricks and a lot of tips, or did you just learn by just watching?
Yeah, not really. It was weird. It was more by the time it was very cosmic, because by the time he met back up with my mother, because my mother and him were high school sweethearts. He ended up moving away because he I think like San Francisco, or to go to school because he got some scholarship. He was the captain of the football team, and he was an artist, which was really weird. It was like that kind of Frazetta thing. And I think he got I think he got a scholarship because of his football playing or something. And he ended up moving away. Then my mother got together with my dad and then had kids and blah, blah. And then they got divorced. And then he came back into town and they got back together. And
right on.
But by that time, I was already like, in my mind, I was an artist already. Like this is my path from the at least first grade, probably earlier. I mean, I was drawing since I was probably 3, I can remember. But I remember being in the first grade and thinking I'm an artist, you know. And so it was weird. All of a sudden, I've got this artist living with me, who's my stepdad, and so there's one painting I have. It's a wanted sign, like very Mad Magazine, because he said he was like, if you want to paint, I'll help you. And so I sat down with him, and it's Dangerous Dan, wanted, dead or alive or something. It was like a poster of this, you know, like this tough guy with like a big cut in his face, and he like helped me paint it a little bit, you know, and that was the only time. And other than that, he was very like hands off, because he went to art college in the 60s, and he was like, he wanted to paint representational, realistic work, and it was all about abstract expression, expressionism. And so he was not into that. And he felt like art school kind of wrecked him, and he was very like hands off, because he didn't want to influence me, because he saw that I was already like on my path and I was good at it at an early age. But he was always there if I had questions. And so it was more like this osmosis thing. It was just like when you grow up basically in a museum where there's paintings on all the walls, and then there's a guy over here painting every single day, including Sundays. Like every day he was in there painting 7 days a week.
What a role model, though, right? I mean, to be like, whoa, that's what it is to be an artist.
Totally.
To like work every day and many hours a day.
That's why I ended up, one of the reasons I ended up getting into makeup effects, because I saw him struggle my whole life. And that's why, you know, there was a point where I was like probably 12 or so, and I was like, okay, this seems really difficult, because it was, you know, we'd have money because he'd sell a painting, and then we'd be completely broke for months, and it would just up and down and up and down. He was doing illustration work for the Dodgers and the Rams and bodybuilding magazine and all, you know, different illustration jobs and stuff. But then he would have nothing, and you know how it is. It's basically the way we are now.
Wow, that sounds like this week for me. This month.
So I got fascinated with makeup and effects and making movies around like 9 or 10 years old when I found my dad's old Super 8 camera. So I was interested in that. But then there was a point when I started seeing all these, you know, like Dawn of the Dead and The Howling and American Werewolf in London. And I was like, okay, you could do this for a living, and I'm into it. So I was like, I'm gonna keep being interested in this. And then, you know, I kept telling myself all throughout this thing, as I was, you know, building my portfolio in high school, I was like, okay, it's practical and I love it, so I'm gonna do this. And it just at a point it seemed like being a fine artist was just not an option, especially if you think about the early 80s, you know, where
hmm
would you even show the kind of stuff we're doing? How
Oh
would
yeah, yeah. Other than like heavy metal
yeah,
or like album covers or
right.
stuff like that. I
And
mean, but
that,
like, good luck trying to get a job in that industry,
right.
you know, back then, you know. So now, were you at that point when you decided to get into the makeup and building monsters industry? Were you already painting monsters at that point? I mean, not necessarily what you paint today,
Right.
but
I
like,
was, yeah, I was drawing that. I was always been a drawer, a sketcher
yeah,
constantly throughout my whole life. So I would always draw creatures, and it was mostly for, you know, I was so obsessed with effects stuff. It was mostly for like designing like a mask I wanted to make, or coming up with a creature that I think would be cool in a movie, like a zombie jester. I remember one time I made a
yeah,
zombie jester
yeah,
drawing,
yeah, yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, the
And
gestures were big back in the day. It's a draw 'em all the time too.
yeah, totally.
Skulls with gesture
Yeah,
hats, and
totally. Hey, I just did.
skulls with for bells and everything.
I just did one recently, man. I did a big
Yeah.
old
Oh, dude,
one
that
a
is
couple of years
phenomenal. Dude,
ago.
that thing is awesome. I love that
Thanks.
painting.
But yeah, so I I was kind of designing masks and stuff like that, and when I started painting, it was like I kind of had to start coming up with this style, because I as much as I was drawing monsters, it was more about like realistic monsters for movies. You know, I was seeing them that way and not really stylizing them the way I do now. So
Yeah,
so it was kind of like starting from nothing, sort of. I didn't have all that all worked
yeah.
out when I first
My
started
favorite
painting.
thing, dude. My favorite thing, and like I jumped off the couch, but on Hellboy 2, when that one guy comes up, that's your guy, and I was like, oh my god, it's like a Chet, like it was so like the stuff that you did with Tool and everything. It looks like your work and everything, but that was like, oh my god, that
Right.
is like literally a Chet Zar painting that's come to life. Like, oh
Yeah,
man,
it
it's
was. It
amazing.
was.
I get chills just thinking about it right now.
Oh, it was. It was. Hey, it gave me chills at the time. It
Yeah,
was like
yeah,
Guillermo. Guillermo was like, "Do anything you want. This is the Chamberlain. It's the king's right hand man. He's not really in it that much. Just do whatever you want." And I was like, "Okay," and yeah, it was my first opportunity, and really my only opportunity, I think, to do my thing in a movie,
hmm hmm
and it was like hands off. He was very hands off
and you can
too. It was
totally
amazing.
see it too.
Yeah, I know.
It's
He
unbelievable.
said that he
Unbelievable.
said the only criteria was make it to where the actor's mouth it blends at the actor's mouth, so that Doug Jones can talk,
Could, yeah, move his
and
mouth.
everything else whatever you want to do. So I was like, okay. Yeah, it was amazing, and it had like mechanical eyes and blinks. I wanted it to be, we didn't have time for it, but I wanted it to like, the head is kind of like a
Yeah,
tall square.
squared off. Yep.
Yeah, I wanted it to be like jointed toward the head, like bent forward and moved all around. I thought that would be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, if the film industry was like that experience, I probably wouldn't have left. But
Yeah,
but that was the first time in the 15 or so years, 20 years that I was in that business where that something like that happened.
that was pretty much the last one that you did.
No, I worked on the last movie I worked on in a shop was Land of the Lost, the Land of the Lost
Okay.
remake.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I helped.
Never see. I didn't see
I,
it, but
I
yeah.
didn't either. I never. There's a lot of movies I worked on that I've never seen
Yeah.
because you just kind of know. But yeah. So anyway, yeah. I miss it from time to time, but I can't. You can't beat doing your
Yeah.
own thing. You know that. It's
What?
like
No, absolutely, absolutely. That was the thing with the video games, where when I started doing that, and that was in the I think early '90s or mid '90s or something like that. But it was where I, I would work sometimes. We would work so much that we'd bring sleeping bags into the office, and we
oh
would
my
just sleep,
god.
in the office, because you would have these crazy deadlines where it was like, by the end of this week, we need to have this whole
Right.
thing rendered, and it's got to work, and we got to
Yeah.
send it to Japan or wherever, and that for them to see it, and so I just had I didn't do any personal work for pretty much the whole time. But I was a contractor, so I'd work for a year. I'd be off for maybe like 4 months or
Okay.
3 months, and so I would have time then. And then finally, the last time that I got laid off, I was like, "F this, man! I'm just gonna try to do this painting thing." And then I had a started a mural company, and I was doing that on the side,
Oh, wow.
and that so that worked out a little bit, but you get that feeling of like, what am I doing? Like, I you know I like I have ideas and I can't even get my ideas out of me because of I'm
Right.
always doing this other stuff,
Right.
so
Right. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, what's the point of this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
It's yeah. That's
and nowadays it's amazing because of the way that we have it with social media and YouTube and all these different ways of like getting what you do out there. It's much more. I just think because I was just thinking to myself, because back then it was a little crazy because you was still living within a closet within anything that you were pretty much doing for yourself, because other
yeah.
than you could share with your friends, but you didn't really share outside of
There
there.
was no yeah, yeah. I mean,
But
there was nowhere to show it. That's the
yeah.
thing. What would you do back? You'd have to call a gallery. We're talking about the days before the internet
Well,
was
yeah,
big. It's like,
back then I showed at bars and I showed at nightclubs and I
and
showed
you had
and
to go in there
I
and
would
ask them, like, "Hey, can I show?"
exactly. Yeah. Hey, I got some work I'd like to hang in your place. And let me see this, and normally get probably shot down more than anything else. I don't want skulls and things like that hanging in here.
Were you initially painting kind of the same thing you're doing, this kind of dark gothic style when
Oh
you first
yeah.
started?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But I think it was a little bit more literal than maybe I don't it's so hard for me to look at my work and to like to because I see it I think a lot differently than other people see it.
Mm-hmm. No,
Like
yeah.
in the sense of like I like there's no doubt I know that I fall within the dark art community of like the work that I do, absolutely, right?
Right.
But I don't see it as dark. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
However, like my earliest stuff, there could be like a lot of violence in it sometimes and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that because it was still really uh not mature work. You know what I mean? It was like
Right.
I was still a kid, in that, and I thought maybe guns were cool, or I thought that I don't know. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because I was still coming out of that comic book
Comic
type of
books, yeah,
mindset,
and video games
So
too.
in video games and all that stuff. So I had a lot of that kind of within it. It still had a fantasy element or like a and that to it, but it was more kind of it was more darker. I remember having work one time in a coffee shop, and the manager okayed it, and then the owner ended up coming in, and I had this girl in a painting that was holding a gun to like this guy that had like a skull. He was like a skeleton, but then he had like this like human face mask on, and that he's pointing to
Excellent.
the head, and the friggin' and she was wearing all like latex, like vinyl or whatever, and she was painted like kind of like an Alice Cooper looking type of
Wow.
face and all that stuff,
Uh-huh.
and that and and the owner came in and freaked the fuck out. So ended up getting a phone call, dude, you got to come here and get your work like right away, right away. This guy's not having it, and he's getting ready to rip all your work off the wall. It's like,
Oh.
all right, I'll be there right now. So but yeah, so but yeah, yeah, but I guess getting back to that, yeah, back then they just do anything, and that's the same thing that I say now, like for people, like just get your work wherever you can get your work.
Yeah.
I mean, say it's easier because you can share it online and you can instantly get your likes or your
Mm-hmm.
comments and all that stuff like that. But I still believe there's nothing like being able to get your work in front of like actual physical
Yeah.
paintings instead of looking at a 2 inch by 2 inch image
Absolutely.
online.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that. So, but
Yeah. I always
yeah,
say it's like the difference between seeing a live band in person or listening to the CD.
exactly,
You know what I mean?
exactly, exactly.
So yeah, and that's why I think galleries will never totally go away, and oil painting or acrylic, whatever, original artwork, one of a kind artwork will also never go away, because as things become more, you know, technological and less personal, the more valued this original handmade
Have
pieces of
organic
work.
type.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
They're going to be more valued because, that's the real shit,
Yeah, it's the meat and bone, like the real meat and bones
Right.
to everything, you know? Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
definitely.
So I mean,
Definitely.
that's why it's strange to have a place at the table in this day and age as painters. It seems
Hmm.
very unlikely, but when you think about it, it kind of makes sense because I think people are hungry for realness as the world becomes more fake and full of shit
Hmm.
everywhere. It becomes more just plastic and product and nothing of substance.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Stuff that has no story behind it, stuff that has
right?
no, and then again, like being the whole kind of meat and bones and
Yeah,
actual tangible thing that you know, you could touch if you wanted to,
right,
and rub your
right.
hands over the texture of the paint
You
and,
feel the weight of the paint. That's what I love
yeah,
when I do painting, and you pick up the canvas or board after you finished it, and it's heavier. That's what I
heavier
love.
than, yeah, yeah, totally, totally,
It's like it
absolutely.
feels so good. It feels so good
Yeah,
to
yeah,
feel that feeling. So how
yeah.
did you? This is a difficult question, but I know it's one that a lot of people are going to be interested to hear. How did you develop into what you're doing now? Like,
I
how did
think
that work?
Yeah, I think emulation, like emulating. I think that you don't get to excuse me, you don't get to who you are without being inspired by other people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and I think that the trick there is that um, maybe early on, your work definitely resembles another artist or
Hmm.
another you know whatever you're taking, whether it's writing or that you're emulating into your
Yeah. You
work,
got to
that you can
start
kind of see
somewhere.
within there, right?
Yep.
So so I think it all starts there. I mean, there's no doubt I have paintings that look like Salvador Dali and all these
Oh,
other
really?
things in the big. Oh yeah, because I'd get really inspired by his work when I
Yeah.
got turned
Yeah.
on to him or something, and that. So I think and then over time, what you hope to happen is that stuff becomes to be so buried and so subdued within when because you're starting to find your own voice
Hmm.
within that stuff,
Yeah.
so then you start pulling out of that who you truly are. I don't really think I start really finding out who I really was with my work until probably maybe, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
but now I kind of feel like I got a grasp on it. But also too, it's like I don't like that to be a burden either on me personally, because I don't want to be um, a, a emulation of myself, all the
Right.
time.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
where
For
I
sure.
become to be held down because like people expect something
Hmm.
from you, and it's like, no, I'll be the first to like destroy my own career by like completely changing it if if I get bored at what I'm doing,
Right.
because like like that's the thing to me that's so important about this thing, and I talk about it all the time, but I think it's really important to echo again, is like we do this thing because it brings us happiness, it brings us salvation, it's like it's a therapy for us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that and it's this thing that comforts us, and it helps us with bad times, it helps us with good times, it helps
Hmm.
us with everything. So what happens is, like, when that starts to become to be a burden because you start feeling a certain way about like what you're doing, and then I have to do this one thing, otherwise, like, because people know me for this thing, or my career is going to suffer if I try to change,
Right.
or maybe I'm not going to sell the work because I want to try something different, or that's a problem, because then the then you start realizing this thing that brought you joy. And I'm only speaking to myself for this, because this is
Right.
an experience that I
I think this
absolutely
is
had.
I think this is a problem for every artist, though. I think this
Yeah,
is a potential problem for every artist.
yeah. Then
Definitely.
I became miserable in making work. I didn't even want to paint anymore, because I
Wow.
was like, I'm not enjoying, like, I'm not finding new things. I'm not
Hmm.
exploring different ideas. I'm not
Right.
uh you know and then I ended up just starting to kind of evolve into, I guess, where I am now, and that
Interesting.
and if the minute that I get that feeling again with what I'm doing now, then I'll throw it to the wind and see what happens again, because I just, I want this thing to constantly bring me happiness,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that,
Yeah,
you know.
and you got to be growing and changing to be happy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, granted, with that thing too, I mean, you're going to get a commission, or you're going to get a job or wherever that people expect something from you because of what they know you for. And that's
Hmm.
not the time to say, hey,
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna totally switch it up here and, give you exactly what you didn't want, but,
Definitely. Yeah, there's a
so
time and a place for
exactly.
experimentation. And that
Yeah.
time and place
Yeah.
is not when you have like this big bill to pay and a
Yeah.
customer coming to you with a commission.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
So,
I mean, one thing that I think both of us are absolutely painting our own worlds. You know what I mean? We've got
yeah.
our own
Yeah.
like visions of these worlds,
Mythology
yeah,
and yeah.
mythologies, and um, that is such a great place to be, and it's such a cool framework to work within, because it's, you can keep expanding your reality however you want. There could be a happy
Yeah.
part of dystopia, or a happy light,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
daytime
Yeah.
world of David Stoupakis'
Yeah,
paintings.
maybe
You know
there's
what I
different
mean?
dimensions within
Right,
that mythology of,
right, right, right.
like working within, yeah, or different worlds within worlds, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
def-
I love that about that, I guess, fantasy, or whatever you want to call it, surrealism, or however you want to, what I'm talking about.
yeah.
What is it? Alex Gray calls it. What does he call it?
Oh yeah, he does have a great name for it.
It's like,
That's cool.
I mean,
That's too.
he calls everything, all of the stuff that we're doing, the dark stuff, light, whatever. He calls it all visionary, which I'm cool with, visionary art.
Yeah.
But he says it's from the imaginal realms. I think, that's one of the big defining markers of what we're doing. It's coming out of our imaginations,
Yeah.
because a lot of people are not painting from their imaginations. They're painting from life, which is totally cool, and I respect the hell out of it, because it's fucking hard to do right and do well.
Yeah.
A bowl of fruit, it's hard to paint a bowl of fruit really well. So
Absolutely.
it's just
Absolutely.
it's not,
Or
for me. It's not
vase
that
of flowers and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
It's
for
not
sure.
it's not what I'm passionate about, but I can certainly appreciate it. But God, I can't imagine not painting I can't imagine not going from the imagination in that way.
Painting from your own, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
key component in what you're doing as well. It's like, that's
Yeah.
part of the fun, right?
Yeah,
Coming
well,
up with
because
these.
because not to say that you're not doing that when you're painting a bowl of fruit or something like that, but when you are painting from your imagination, you're bringing into the world, you're birthing into the world something that has never existed
Right.
before. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
which
And
is
you're
so
getting to
exciting.
show like a dimension within, your work. Like, you think about Token and like Lord of the, like it's just,
Right.
that was something that he thought of, and then when
Yeah.
you start to think about how in depth that is, where he's built
Yeah.
his own languages and wrote his own songs and
I
all that
know,
crazy
right?
stuff, it like blows my fucking head up,
Yep.
and,
Where you
and
see
all
that.
backstories. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking from a painter's perspective too. If you look at Bekshinsky's body of work,
Hmm.
there's just so much. It's so amazing, and he's a guy too that not only did he create a ton of work, not only was he working out of his imagination, but he changed a lot. Actually,
Yeah.
if you look at his work, you could tell it's all done by him, but he definitely went through some phases where he was
Phases
doing
of different.
totally different kind of shit.
I got to look at some of his early. I mainly know the later work, and that. So I
Yeah,
don't know. He's a German guy, right?
no, he was Polish.
Polish, not German.
If you
Polish.
you won't, yeah, if you haven't like really looked in depth at Bekshinsky stuff, there's so much of it. It's insane. Like he was so prolific. It'll make you feel like a slacker, because it's just like
right.
I paint a
And
lot.
I'm sure he
and
probably
it's
had
like,
no help either.
Yeah, no. I mean, I paint a lot, and I look at his stuff, and I'm like, how the hell did he do it? It's insane. But it's just cool to see. He would go through more abstract phases where things were, you couldn't tell what, his earlier stuff. It's like the stuff that you're familiar with. It's like these kind of corpse-like people and environments. But later he gets into this stuff where it's like the person is also looks like they're made of paper that's tearing away, and the paper is like stuck on the wall. If it's a wall, like really mindfuck kind of stuff. It's great, you know. But he, you know, it's cool to see his different his evolution, because he also, you know, he went through a phase where he was. I saw some paintings of person where they're all just done with little lines, almost like cross hatching. Just insane.
And that was
stuff.
Earlier on stuff, the cross hatching, like the line.
I think that was late. I think that was like maybe late '80s or early '90s, maybe, that he was doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And then at the end of his career, he got into Photoshop, and he was just doing these crazy Photoshop.
Really?
Yeah, and he was like in his
I don't know
70s or
nearly
something.
enough about him. I just know that those like corpse-like paintings and those beautiful environments that he does and stuff. Did you end up watching that? Did you see the documentary?
No, I haven't seen it. Is it
yeah, there's a documentary that came out. I think it's based. I mean, it's definitely based on his career, but I also think it's based about his, because I think he had a lot of problems with his son.
It's like a dramatization of.
Is that what it is?
It's not. It's or there. I think there was.
I'm not sure.
There was a movie that was made about him and his wife and his son that was like a movie that I haven't seen, but I know there are like kind of documentaries, but they are kind of homemade, documentaries. But he was also really interesting. Like, he didn't name any of his paintings, which is totally cool. All of them are untitled. Every single, like hundreds of paintings are all untitled.
Are they just numbered or
nothing, which is so cool. He was like, he was super quotable. You know, he's got amazing quotes about art. Like he says, I'm something along the lines of, I don't know what my paintings mean, and I'm not interested in knowing. It's like he's just all about painting them.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great, because that is the hardest thing that like you deal with, or not deal, like it's not terrible, but it's just like people want to know, you know, all the time. It's like, you know, even if I do know what this painting, because some of my paintings definitely have. I was going through something and I painted it for that reason, right? But it's like, if I tell you, then it's only going to ruin it for you, because you initially are going to have your own idea for yourself of what it means, you know? And if I tell you, if it's like about this really bad thing that happened in my life, then like that's all you're going to think about when you look at it. You know?
This is the one of the big issues I have with this dystopia book I'm working on, where I'm mythologizing the world.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, I wrestled with this for a long time. Like, if I tell what's going on in the painting, then it's going to take the mystery away. So it's like, it's definitely going to have that effect for people. They're going to be like, oh, I always kind of felt this about it. But I eventually was kind of like, it's worth the trade-off for me to be able to keep building this world and maybe turn it into a comic book and all the things that I would love to do.
Game, or like just, you know, I'm just thinking about your own D&D type of thing.
Yes.
Oh my God,
these are I know. but it's like a trade-off. It's like, okay, you can't have everything. You have to trade off. And I figure if people really want to hang on to their own feelings, they could ignore the book and the other stuff.
Yeah. That's like Stephen King says, like the book's still on your shelf, man. Like because people say how much they hated the movie or something. It's like the book's still there. You know, the book hasn't changed. It's still the same ending and everything else.
Right.
You know? But,
so speaking of books, I mean, you do book illustrations too. You did some amazing book illustrations for Stephen King's son, right?
Yeah. Joe Hill. Yeah. That was
fire paintings you did are fucking like That's the first time I ever looked at fire in a painting, and I was like, that motherfucker, how did he do that? Like that was super inspiring for me, those paintings, man.
Thanks, man.
So good.
Thank you so much.
Incredible.
What a fucking compliment. Dude, that was a dream job, because like I am so in love with that dude's writing. Like I haven't read anything yet. Comic books. I love his novels. Like
really?
Yeah,
Joe King?
I love
Joe Hill.
Stephen King too, but Joe Hill. Like
right.
I love his work and that. So when I got invited to do that, that was like just a what?
Yeah,
what?
right.
You know. So
how did you get that gig?
So this is another thing about just doing stuff because you want to do it and you just love doing it. So I had downtime. I wasn't doing a gallery show. Wasn't doing any commission work or anything like that. And I was reading the audiobook of Nosferatu, which is, and you would love it. You would love this whole. It's like a vampire, but a vampire unlike any kind of vampire that you would think, but pretty much lives off of children, right?
Oh, wow.
It's like souls and stuff.
Wow.
And he's bringing them all to a place called Christmas Land, and it's fucking awesome, right? So I was doing that. I was reading that on the audiobook, and I started painting a painting of this guy Charlie Manx, who's the main character of this book, and at that time I was very rarely, but I was doing covers for so I finished it, and I was doing covers for IDW off and on, and they were doing an adaptation of like a different story but with the same characters and stuff of a graphic novel. But that they were putting out single issues. So I sent it to this guy, Chris, over there, like the head editor there. And he was like, oh my God, I got to show this to Joe or whatever.
Wow.
So then Joe loved it. And he was like, so then they wanted to use that as one of the, because, like a lot of comic books, they'll do the A and the B and the C covers and stuff like that. So they wanted to make it the B or the C. I forget what it was. But I was like, yeah, totally.
You can make it the D.
I was like, oh my God, yeah. Make it that friggin' F, the C. I don't give a shit. So ended up being that, and then that's kind of, I think, I became on his radar and all that stuff.
Cool is that, man?
Yeah. So then was doing they do these artist editions with another publisher, PS Publishing. I hope that's right. But so then he was doing an artist edition of his latest novel, which I think it still is his latest, like big, he's done short stories since then, but his latest novel called The Fireman, and then they asked me to do the illustrations for that. So I did 12 or 15 or something for that.
Wow.
I forget.
Amazing. Yeah. That must have been a good chunk of money too.
Yeah, it was good.
That's such a great thing when something like that happens. Oh my God.
Yeah. And it just,
you must have been in heaven.
When you get to work with like people that just you're so inspired by and shit, it's the best thing in the world.
Totally, man. Yeah, it makes all the difference, really. That must have been, you must have been in heaven.
Yeah.
Painting all those paintings. Oh my God.
Yeah. Towards the end, though, I was like, oh my God, I can't do it fast enough.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And it's also cool just to know that, he knows your work. He asked for you. How amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it makes
unbelievable. I got to work a couple other couple other people. I don't want anyway, but it was unbelievable. I don't want to sound like I'm gloating or whatever.
Yeah, I want to know. We want to know what other famous people do you work for?
Well, I got to do. Jack Ketchum asked me to do right before he passed away.
Wow.
I did a cover for an artist edition. I just did the cover. They got somebody else to do the pen and ink work in the inside of it, but I did the cover for Off Season, and then I did the second cover for Off Season 2. It's not Off Season 2. Oh my God, I feel like an idiot. But well, the name's not on it over there. But anyway, I got to do the second cover for his sequel of that one, and then
that's awesome.
And then. Yeah, so that was amazing because I've been a fan of his for a long time too. So I was like, "Whoa, dude!"
that's like normal shit too.
Yeah,
it's not like fantasy stuff. That's like, I mean, what's he? I know the name. I don't know. What's he known for?
Off Season is the novel that he's probably one of the ones he's most known for. I think it was written back in like 74, 78 maybe, or I could be wrong. It might have been written in the fucking 80s, but anyways, it's all about these, I don't want to ruin it. It's all about cannibals. So it's like,
cool. Oh, I had no idea.
It's pretty heavy.
Wow.
I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't read it. So then they want to read it.
He's not. Is he like a horror writer? He's not. Yeah. He's a horror. Oh, yeah. I thought he was like just kind of a regular writer. I didn't realize that. I know the name. I'm sure. Anyway, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to read that now or audiobook it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
I didn't remember how heavy it was, like because I read it when I was a lot younger, and I was like, "Whoa, this shit is fucking for real." So.
Wow.
But.
So I mean, how often do you do hired gigs like that? Is it like
If
a
they,
couple times a year, or is it
if
whenever it
they
comes?
ask, you know,
You're not
you know,
going out and looking
no,
for
like
it.
I don't really know how to pursue it, and a lot of times pursuing it, I don't know the right way to say this without coming off. A lot of people don't want to pay, you
Oh,
know.
right. Yeah.
So like you know, like I was working with a merch company for a bit there, and like it's just, you know, if it was something, if I was getting the job through the band, then I would get a lot better a rate for like what I wanted for the job. But if they
Right.
wanted to hire me on their own, the merch company, then like the rate was like not worth doing.
Right.
Because you could do like a little, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever, you
Yeah.
know. So it's definitely, that's the one thing that it like, I forget what. Oh, do you ever watch the Drew Struzan documentary?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was just like they were talking about like doing like the Black Sabbath, like Sabbath Bloody Sabbath album
Hmm.
cover, and like got, I think it was like 30 grand, and that was like back, or maybe it was like 10 grand, but that was like back in the 70s,
Right.
right?
Where
You
it was
know, and then you
probably
start,
30 grand in the 70s or 50 grand in the 70s or something.
yeah, and then they talk about like, then he starts talking about the guy with the, when he starts getting him to do the movie posters and stuff,
Uh-huh.
and like, you know. I don't think the industry's still like that anymore. And plus
No,
every,
definitely not.
it's just,
Definitely not.
so,
Yeah.
and I think, I don't know if a big part of that is, the way how fast media is being produced, that they just, and also I guess a lot of these people already have their in-house people that do this stuff anyway. So they're just getting an hourly rate to,
Right. They could spend $500 and have someone do a Photoshop mock-up for a movie poster instead of 10,000
yeah,
or
yeah,
20,000, or
yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's
This is
probably
the,
economic.
yeah. And the thing that gets me so sad about that is that what happens in that situation is, not to say there's not phenomenal artists that work for these studios and stuff, or different,
Hmm.
places, but like, you know, the reason why you hired somebody like Drew Struzan is because you wanted that vision. You
Right.
wanted the way like that guy composed. Like he was a composer, or he is a
Oh
composer
yeah,
of
yeah.
making these, just, and that's what I feel about a lot of like artists out there. And you still have a bunch of bands that are definitely going, finding the artists and stuff like that and saying, yeah, we want you to do, a
Right.
shirt, do an album cover, do whatever in that. But a lot of it just becomes to be this, uh, I don't know. I see a lot of generic kind of
Product.
stuff, product out there.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I don't. Yeah, I'm not trying to put anything down, but it's just, there's something special about finding somebody who has a vision and then kind of going for that thing. Like again, like what we were saying about the whole idea of like the bowl of fruit versus the somebody who's got this painting from their soul and their vision,
Right.
getting
Yeah,
these
yeah.
things up.
Right.
Can I say vision one more time? Anyway.
No, you could say vision as many times as you want.
Yeah.
You're a visionary artist, so
Yeah.
technically,
Visionary.
according to Alex,
That would have been nice. Yeah.
according to Alex Gray, we're all visionary artists.
I like it.
Yeah, he puts Giger. He's always referred to Giger as a visionary artist. You know,
Absolutely.
You know, so I've come to kind of, me and the whole dark art thing. We had this discussion years ago.
Yeah, me and you talk about it, and,
Yes.
and I love it.
Dark
I
art
love
number
it.
one.
I love it. That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, I
That
still
was
have
so
that
funny
T-shirt,
when you
I
made
think.
that shirt. That was classic, man.
But like, and I love it. I love it. But yeah, my thing has always been just let everybody else, but you have such a
Right.
great thing. Somebody is gonna name this something, so we might as well be the people who name it.
Yeah,
And
or
that's,
it's already being called that, kind of.
yeah,
Everybody always calls it that, so just go with it. But
yeah,
but I really have been thinking of it since I heard Alex talking about that. I have been. It's like it is a segment of this wider umbrella of what he would call visionary art, which makes sense to me. You know what I
hmm
mean? And then
hmm
there's dark stuff, and then there's the more the hippie visionary stuff that most people. This is the thing that bums me out about the visionary term, is that when people think dark art, you know exactly what they're talking about. Basically, you get an idea of what they're talking about when they're talking about dark art, right? And if someone says visionary art, immediately you get the idea. You see an Alex Gray type colorful psychedelic painting.
Yeah.
You don't think of a Giger painting. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a bummer that
Giger, you would think dark art.
Right.
Yeah.
But technically he's visionary. If the criteria is something that's totally from the imaginal realms, and it's a personal vision that comes out of the artist's imagination. That's the definition of visionary art. So it's kind of a bummer that that one style of visionary art it's represented in that term, when it's like it's Beksinski, it's Giger, it's stuff on this, our stuff too.
Yeah.
But
definitely,
I don't know, because I mean, when you hear visionary art, that's what you think of mostly, is like Alex Gray type, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Like
colorful, psychedelic.
Yeah, colorful, psychedelic, and yeah, definitely.
And we might get a little psychedelic, but our colors are dark. Is that horse piece?
Yeah.
That piece is so amazing, dude. I couldn't believe
it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I didn't realize it was so tiny.
Yeah. So 9x12. 9x12 guy.
Did you sell it, or are you going to sell it? Or
no, I'm gonna put it up in the shop today.
I think it's going to sell. It's going to sell in 2 seconds.
Well, I don't know. I hope so. I got to make rent. So.
Know, right. But there's people have been sharing this thing, this small, for independent contractors and small business, you can get like $10,000.
Yeah.
If you
did you see that awesome thing that Big Cartel did too?
I haven't. I got an email, but I didn't read it. What
it was for $50,000 that they're like that they're going to try to just use $50,000, which is, in the grand scheme of how many people that have Big Cartel or whatever,
right.
It's not like crazy money, but still they're just saying, hey, look, we got $50,000. We want to try to spread out and give to our, people and stuff. So I'm sorry though, Chet, you were trying to tell me something. I just kind of completely cut you off though. So what was the independent thing?
There's some government program with this bailout where independent artists, small businesses, and artists and stuff can apply for can get up like to $10,000 or something just by applying.
Really?
Yeah. I'll send you the link after.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
please.
It's just starting to make the rounds. Like I just got word about it from a couple of people today, and there are people. Gary at Copro said he was going to apply for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because galleries are going to take the hit. I mean, everybody's taking the hit, but man, in the art world, it's like we're kind of the last people. We're the last thing that people buy when times are desperate. The luxury items like art.
It's a lot. I think art is a ton more than just a luxury item.
Yeah, definitely.
But I always refer it to that too, in the sense of it's not a necessity.
Yeah, people consider it. Yeah, you can't eat it.
Yeah.
People consider it a luxury item when actually it's up there with food, as far as, it's not like you don't need it to be alive, but I think for people who love art, and who want happiness. It's some people, it's like, it's important. It's up there in importance. I think you can ask any art lover that. Yeah. Plus everything's created by artists in some way or another, just about architects, everything around you's been designed,
absolutely.
The lamp here, this microphone, it's all has to be visualized and designed by artists of some type.
Yeah, for sure. Now, how has that made, because this is it's put me in a weird kind of headspace. I love what you put out, by the way, which I'm gonna echo that as well on my Patreon. But like you wrote something super beautiful the other day, just about knowing people are struggling and about just and thank people for their support and all that other stuff like that. And I want to echo that on my own as well. But but I've been thinking a lot about, in the sense of where it's like, I'm getting ready to. I'm going to have to promote these paintings that I'm trying to sell,
Right.
But it's like, it gets you to start to think like, wow, man, knowing so many people are hurting,
I
it's
know,
like, it
right?
kind of makes you feel weird to go,
I know.
hey, I know tons of people are out of a job right now, but
You want to give me
I,
some
I
money for
did
the?
make these paintings, and, but talking to April and that, there is a lot of people that still are doing well and they do have jobs or they just are doing well financially
Right.
and
Yeah.
stuff. So, I got
Yeah.
to look
This.
at those kind of upsides. But have you thought about that in the sense of promoting and
Yeah.
selling?
I got so lucky with these tool posters. I don't know if you've seen any
Yeah.
of those where I
Oh, dude,
doodle.
dude, yeah, dude. I mean, like killing it.
I'm I'm running out of ideas, man.
I
It's
know.
like
I'm like, dude,
there's
he's burning through like markers like nobody's
oh,
business. Like,
I probably spent like $300 on markers just getting
yeah,
through because I've been doing other ones that people have sent me to as well, doing doodles on these. But that got me a chunk of money to where I'm like, I can take a breather. I don't have to stress. Normally every month it's like at the end or
yeah,
at some point in the
chasing
month
your
it's like,
tail.
okay, I gotta crank something out and make some money.
Yeah.
And for the first time ever, maybe since I've started, or maybe a couple times this may have happened, I've actually got a little bit of money in the bank to support me
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
these tool posters. So it was like completely, I got so lucky because this happened right before this all hit. It
Yeah.
started around December or January is when I started
Promoting it or
and getting people
making them
sending me
available.
their stuff, yeah, and making money from them. So
Yeah.
I got really lucky. So I haven't had to worry too much about thinking about how to market during these times. But who knows how long this is going to go on.
Sure.
I definitely don't have enough money to live for a year or anything
Sustain.
like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
I'm just, to me, just being able to live for a month is like, wow, this
Yeah,
is
no.
incredible. I have a month
Right?
paid off easily. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But I've been what I have been thinking about is it's a good opportunity to sell things. If you're concerned about people not being able to afford it, is maybe just putting them on sale for like lower prices. Just
Prices. Yeah.
because normally as painters, you're not supposed to give more than a 20% discount in general. That's kind of the rule of thumb with fine art.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is a different time. It's
Hard times call for desperate
yeah,
measures.
exactly. So it could be a chance to be like, what, I'm going to sell these for cheaper than I ever have been. It gives people an opportunity that maybe didn't have them before, and it's also more of it easier to sell during these times. So that's, I don't know. And also, there's always, if you can offer inexpensive things, that's always a good way around that, because people want to support you. They might, if you have something for $20, it doesn't sound like a lot, but man, I sell, or $40. I do these little resin casts, these weird colored resin casts. I do pretty well with those, and they're like $40-$50. They're one of a kind, they're signed, so it's like sketches, doodles, who knows. I've sold little doodles on an envelope that was sitting there because it was like, oh, this came out kind of cool. I just cut it out of the off the envelope and just offered it on eBay, and it's like it's sold.
Yeah.
Got to get creative,
no, that's great. Being creative, exactly. That's what I think that this time is going to be, as tragic as it is. I think it's a really great time to be creative and to and for a lot of people to explore things that maybe they always wanted to do with their lives that never tried doing them before, whether it's music, writing, painting, whatever it is,
Absolutely.
and that because you're gonna have all this free time, and it's time to explore, have fun, and explore.
Yeah. It's like I know what you're saying, but you don't want to like be happy about the tragedy. At the same time, you want to try and look at the bright side, and it's like there's LA is beautiful right now because there's no pollution. It's amazing when you go outside and look at the
heard
sky.
that. Yeah,
it's like a regular, like a sky in somewhere like the Midwest or somewhere where they have clear skies. It's crazy.
That's absolutely incredible. I know LA has been super on the solar and like has been really conscious of trying to make a change there with that, at least with some companies and all and people and stuff like that. And that's the other outcome of this is I wonder with with the US of hopefully we're gonna get some good out of all this tragedy,
Right. Yeah.
where we're gonna think differently. Like, remember when LA was not polluted?
I know.
Like,
It's like,
like let's keep this, people, because this is fucked up the way that it normally is.
I mean, that seems like a good. I don't know the science of it, but it seems like what a great idea it would be to for everything to shut down for a couple weeks every year. Just I wonder if that those 2 weeks of not polluting would make a difference in the climate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like nature seems to recover pretty quickly when you aren't pummeling it. You know?
Yeah.
So it's.
Yeah. Well, the sooner we switch from oil to electric and
I know.
You know what I mean, and solar and all that other stuff, the we can fix things, but at least try to fix them from getting worse than they already are. But
it's so crazy though. I was just talking to, I forget who I was talking to about this. Oh, this guy on one of my Patreon people I do Skype with, the mentorship people. He's like an artist, but he's also a biologist. That's his day job. And he was talking about, we were talking about this very thing, switching to solar, and he's like everything is based on petroleum. Everything, like our whole civilization,
really,
this plastic, everything everything that you own is somehow related. You have it because of oil. Like, just if you think of transportation, of things getting here and there, anything plastic is
machinery, the way the machinery needs to run, and
the factories and the plastic, everything that's made of plastic comes from oil. Ultimately, that's what it's made of. So it's like
it's more of a fantasy.
No, it's like that got us here to where we are now, and it's time we have to move on, or it's going to destroy the planet. But you got to realize that it's gonna be it's gonna take a lot, because the whole economy is based on oil, basically. And this is why these wars, and it's just it's like you have to look at it though, and it's like it did it got you and I here on Skype.
Absolutely.
It's afforded us a lot of amazing things. So instead of, you have to kind of like look at it. I think you have to kind of look at it like, thank you for where you've gotten us, but now you've worn out your welcome, and you're running out anyway. So we've got to move on, or else we're gonna all die.
Yeah, it's just the scary part about that is the people that are in power are the people that don't want to have their pockets ever empty at all. You know what I mean? They want to keep filling those pockets. And
if you think about like a whole world economy based on something, which is oil, that's so much money. Much money. That's just, that's why it's not easy. It's because there's a ton of people making a ton of money from it.
Yeah. Yeah. And now it's the lowest, I guess, that it's ever been, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then it's like, and then you get something like this to disrupt the whole fucking thing, and it's like, that's Mother Nature is not to be fucked with.
Nope.
Just when we're feeling like humanity's feeling like
it's been here before the dinosaurs. It's been here before us. It'll still be here after us. So.
Well, it is us too. That's the crazy thing. We are it. It's,
exactly.
And it's like, what was it, that George Carlin sketch where he's talking about plastic? Like we were created because Mother Nature wanted plastic. We were put here just so we could make plastic.
I don't think I've ever heard that one. Pretty good.
It's pretty funny.
It's pretty good. I know New York just switched over to now you have to bring, which is great, but where you got to bring your own bags and stuff.
Yeah.
Which, thank God they finally did that. It's hard to get used to it, but remember to leave the house, because California's been like that for a long time, right?
For a while, yeah.
It
was weird. It definitely was weird at first, but once you do it, you're like, wow, that is really wasteful, and you just don't even
Yeah.
think about it until, you
Yeah.
know, we're just,
And plus, when I'm walking home from the grocery store, I'm like, wow, these bags are so much more sturdier.
yeah,
'Cause they're
right.
like,
Nothing
like
worse
the
than a
tote
bag that
bags or
rips,
whatever
man.
that I got,
Mhm.
they're not plastic and going to rip on me. Yeah. But
So what's, what's going on with, do you have gallery shows lined up? Do you
so
have,
I who knows what the outcome's going to be with everything going on, but I got a show with Being Art in October.
oh,
And
cool.
so I got a solo show with them in October, but so
Right.
we'll see what happens with everything happening. But and then I have to reschedule with Last Rites with doing a solo with them because I had to postpone my show because I had a couple commissions that I was like commissions that were taking me a long time because of larger commissions and stuff. So I had to
Mhm.
postpone that show, but I'm gonna have to reschedule that at some point. So,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah,
those
but I've been
are,
kind of. I'm sorry.
no. I was just, no. Tell me what you're gonna
Yeah. Oh
say.
no. So I was just gonna say that that I've been kind of really not that I don't want to work with galleries. I absolutely want to work with galleries because there's
Right.
nothing like working on a body of work that you spent a year on or 4 months or 6 months on that you
Right.
get to show and you get to show it as this body of work and that people can actually
Yep.
stand in front of and stuff.
Yep.
So I mean I will always want to work with galleries, but I've been really liking the commissions
Yeah.
and doing the commission work because it's just the guarantee of the money side of it
Yeah.
and because still we've both been doing this for over 20 years at this point,
Right.
and it's for me. I don't know about you, but it's still unpredictable. You do it. You can work on a body of work and I can have a super successful show where everything sells in the show, and then I can have a show where I sell like two pieces
Oh yeah,
sometimes.
that just happened to me.
You know,
Yeah, the last thing I did, I had a little solo show and I sold two pieces. I
yeah,
sold one
yeah,
piece. I sold one piece
yeah.
during the show, and um, then like a month later or 2 months later, they sold another piece. I think they sold, and then they sold another piece. So it was like three. So it was just like, I'm glad it was one of those it was the last, please God, let it be the last crazy show I do like that where I do it in no time,
Yes,
because I had to just
yeah.
bust them out because all the other stuff that's going on. And I was just thinking, I'm glad I didn't spend 6 months to a year on this or I would be completely fucked,
Screwed. Yeah,
you know?
because then you're not taking on any other work,
I
and you're not
know,
to
I
taking on
know.
anything
It's
else, and then
really
it's like
tricky.
I've like because that had happened to me before, and I hope that never happens to me again. But many years ago, where it's just like I had a built up a savings, so I didn't need to take on anything else. I just worked in that show for almost a year, and I ate away at everything. And then towards the end, bought all the frames, and that shit adds up real quick
Yeah.
and everything. And then you're paying for the shipping, and then the show did terrible, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh
It's the
my
worst,
god,
man.
you know. But yeah, so yeah, I'm enjoying doing the commissions, and I'm enjoying just and I never did what I was doing before that I'm doing lately by doing these 5x7s for my shop and stuff, and I really enjoy doing that because I get to
Hmm.
sell them a bit cheaper than I would sell them at a gallery.
And you're giving people the opportunity that can't afford the bigger pieces too, which is also what's
Exactly,
cool.
exactly.
You know.
Because I like doing the really large work, but but I also like breaking up the monotony of that, especially
Hmm.
too because a big piece for me can sometimes take me months to do. So in between that time, I get to break out a couple little small things and stuff like that, and get you off the monotony because
Yeah.
I know when you work on the show, you're probably very similar with me. You're working on a bunch of things at once, where you're working on this painting, then you put that down to dry,
Yep.
and start, or you get bored working on that one, so you got to
Yep.
freshen up, start something new, and that. So it's great for that, and then it's great, like you said, to be able to put stuff up that's a bit more affordable and
Yeah. Yeah. It's
outside of that.
yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely envious of some of the large paintings you've done because I don't have the opportunity to paint large. I haven't painted large in 10 years probably.
Really,
Yeah, yeah.
but you don't ever even just
Well,
start something and
I'll
just
say 2013, 2012, the Ego Death show, something like 2013. I painted like a 36 by 48 was like a big one.
Wow.
And you've done,
yeah.
yeah. And, yeah, it's 36 by 48, the Ego Death painting. And that was like, I love painting big, but you've got a lot of huge paintings, and it's like you put the time into them. I'm just envious of that. I'm envious of like, I just can't afford to do it. I can't afford to do it right now. You know,
some of them though are paintings that I'll start, and I won't necessarily do them in all one shot because it's not a commission. It's not necessarily for a show. And then I'll kind of just because I want to do a big piece. So I'm like, right. I know it might take me 3 years to do it because I can only work on it off and on or whatever, right. But then you run into situations too where it's like you don't want that idea that you had for that work to dull over the time either. You know what I mean? Where you lose interest, or else you start losing that initial bang of an idea that came to you for that, for that painting or whatnot. So, but yeah, I tend to get myself into, that's not good though. I mean, the big pieces. I've had a lot of pieces where they don't sell, and then it's like, then I look at my house, I go, where the fuck am I going to fit this one? So.
I know, it's like that. It's weird. Because they're harder to sell too. They take more time. They're harder to sell. Like from a financial standpoint, creating large paintings just does not make sense for a working artist. But we're all like, we want to do it so bad. Badly. It's like, oh, I want to. It's kind of a lot of artists, I think, dreams to work large. I've got this 4 foot by what is that? I think it's a 36 by 48, 6 by 4. 6 times 4.
That's a good sized piece, man.
6 by 4 foot frame that my framer's holding for me. It's like, the molding is like that
huge,
thick,
really, like
super gothic and ornate. It would just be like, it's for my masterpiece if I ever get around to making it. Some huge, totally do up the frames, put skulls on it. This frame is so amazing.
Is it one of those like real Baroque?
Yeah. It's, I don't know where he got it from, but it's like, I'm just like, please hold that for me. And until I have the time, I don't even have room in my studio to paint something that large. I'd have to move into another room, but one of these days I'm going to do it. This is something interesting about your work that we both actually share, is that we both do our own frames. But I actually I have my framer do the frame because I don't know how to make frames, and I customize them with pieces. But you actually build the fucking frames.
Yeah, but dude, you actually build them out of clay, and then you mold them, and then you have like this crazy I'm looking at like I have a signature Chet Zar, the 5x7 frame here in the studio, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Like, thank you. I look at when you're doing that, and I think like I want to try that, or like But I wouldn't know the first thing about doing it to do the resin and the way that you do it.
It takes a little time. It's expensive to learn because you fuck up a lot and it wastes. The materials aren't cheap. But I mean, I don't like. But you for the small ones, I sculpt them. Even for these, I did some oval 11 by 14s. For my last show that I sculpted, or last few shows.
I know, dude, they're amazing.
Oh, thanks. And those were pretty cool. But ultimately, I'd love to have all of my framing sculpted. I think that would be really, really great. But your frames are completely custom, handmade wooden frames, right?
Yep.
And it's like how I'm wondering, like, I don't know how you do that. Like, I don't know how to build frames, and I see. You kind of showing how you paint them once in a while, or it's like, how did you learn how to do that?
So growing up, my father still is a carpenter or whatever, but cool. So I was always around, tools and table saws and chop saws and everything. I always had a wood shop in my house growing up, so I was always comfortable because I started using tools pretty young on, and then so I mean, but like, I don't want to give away my secret, but I will anyway. But like, it's not like the type of framing that I do is not like, I'm not hand carving out. Like I follow some people on Instagram where there's this one guy, Uh, he is unbelievable. Like he hand carves these frames or furniture that he
Really?
makes, and it's unreal, right? The work that he does.
Right.
So my thing with like a lot of mold, like what I do is I just buy molding,
Yeah.
like little strips of molding and
Yeah.
stuff. Then I glue those onto the wood, and then I you know, build out an entire piece of molding first, by like then I'll get sheets of oak that I'll either cut down or I can buy them already, 2.5 inches or 2 inches or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I'm adding on the molding, they're getting wider and thicker or whatever.
Hmm.
So by the end, I'll maybe have like a 4 to 5 inch frame. So I'll have a big heavy duty frame, build them up on the back by adding more wood and so on and so forth. And then after that, if I'm just building a straight up square frame, then
Mm.
I'll just at the end, just chop up do my 45s with the chop saw after
Right.
everything's all dry and then, put them together that way and then paint them and then gold leaf them and do all,
Yeah, it's so cool
you know,
though. I mean, it's so
yeah.
cool because they look very signature, and they look amazing. They look
Well,
amazing.
I think that the frames are like the windowsill to the window, right?
Yeah,
That's the way I've
absolutely.
always looked at it. So it's like if you can make your frames also too, nobody's gonna, unless they buy one off of your website for a different painting or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Off of
right.
the shop, but nobody's gonna have a Chet Zar frame. You know
Well,
what I
that
mean?
that
Like,
was that was kind of the original idea with the frames for my
yeah,
little frames. I was thinking, they fit my studies, which is great. This is more business marketing. I was like, I
yeah,
make these frames that will fit the studies because my studies are pretty cheap and affordable. So I make a little bit more from
absolutely.
a little bit extra from the frames, and it all kind of adds up. But I was for a long time I was like, I'm only selling the frames with my studies, so that
Yeah,
people can't just take the frames and put
and put
whatever
their
in
own
there.
or put some other work into
Right,
it. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But eventually, it's just they were too popular. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna sell them.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it's great. It's great. It's great. But
If people
but
want
then
them,
you
it's
do
all
like the
good.
bigger oval ones or those
Yeah, right.
smaller oval ones.
Yeah,
I
I
don't think you
wouldn't.
made the oval ones, the oval ones available on their own, right?
No, no, I don't. I wouldn't sell. I don't think I would. I wouldn't sell
Yeah,
those. I don't
yeah.
think. Yeah, I've had people ask me to like make one of my frames too for one of their paintings, and I've never done it because it's just like it just seems weird to me. I don't
It's also
know.
crazy time consuming if you're gonna
Yeah, yeah.
like sculpt an actual frame for
Oh,
somebody
for
else's
sure. Yeah,
painting,
yeah.
you
That's
know,
like way
you
crazy.
know.
That's like, yeah, it's expensive. I mean, the silicone's like almost $200 a gallon.
Whoa!
Yeah, but the thing is, you can cast if you're using this good silicone, you can cast and cast out of it. You
Yeah.
can get a lot of casts, so you got to go. Okay, well, I can get 50 casts out of this, and I sell those for this much.
Okay, so depending on like how big the frame is, obviously,
Right,
or
right.
or sculpture or whatever
Right,
you're
right.
using for. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like for this, I've used the oval I've used painted differently for like two shows, and two different shows. I just painted them differently, and then one I did like a single one for a group show, and I painted that one differently. So it's still like I'm getting
yeah,
use out of that expensive mold,
yeah.
over time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you always have like, because I find this interesting, and I was thinking about like I was like because I want to start messing around with sculpture, whether it's doing it with wood or doing it with clay or whatever. But
Hmm.
do you have I think about you with the way that you have paint tubes. Do you just have like a like a big thing of red clay sitting around in the studio?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's not. It's not. Yeah, yeah, I do.
Yeah, yeah,
A
yeah.
different kind of clay. I've got like these oil-based clays, and I've got my little clay oven.
Oh, okay,
I'm set up to
okay.
where it's like if I want to sculpt, I could just do it in 5 minutes, which is kind of
Wow.
cool. I mean
What's the
that.
dimensions of a clay oven? Like the
Well, it's a convection oven. I mean, you could kind of heat clay up. You could make a box with foil lined inside for the oil-based clays.
really,
Yeah, and put a light in, like a
really.
clip-on light. I've seen people do that, and that heats it up. The thing
Do you have
about
to
it can.
flip it after a while or no?
No, it just kind of no. You have
No.
to be careful it doesn't melt, so you burn your skin when you dig into it. But you the convection oven is like it's good because it blows heat or evenly, so it
Yeah.
evenly heats the clay. So, but you can get away with a microwave. One thing about monster clay that's cool is it heats. It has a really low melting point, so you can just stick it in your microwave for a couple minutes, and it softens up to where you can just grab it like butter, and it doesn't burn you unless it melts easily. Whereas the Chavant, which is the other kind of clay I use, that stuff you have to it heats up better in a convection oven. But yeah, it's funny. When I see your frames, you have so many flat areas. I look at them and I'm like, oh, because mine, it's like I've settled on this frame with my framer that's kind of like scalloped, or to you it would look like, I don't know, we're in reverse. But so I kind of have to have these sculptures fit in this weird scalloped corner, but sculpting appliques for your frames, I always look at your frames and I was like, oh man, it would just be perfect to sculpt something on, because it's like
the corners and then the centers,
because it's on a flat surface. Just technically it's on a flat surface. It would be easy to sculpt, it would be easy to mold, and it would be easy to cast, and it would be easy to attach on the frame because it's flat. So every time I see your frames, I was like, oh man, I would love to I would love to sculpt. I wish my frames were flat like that, so I could sculpt like flat appliques on them, So it might be, if you're gonna
Chet, I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it.
Here's the thing. If you're gonna learn molding and casting, that is the easiest way to do it, because it's a one piece mold. You know what I mean? You don't have to build walls up and split it open and worry about seams. It's like one piece because it's flat. You can sculpt it flat on a board, and it's gonna fit any frame that's flat. So it's a piece of cake for you.
Because then you're just putting the I don't know the term, but the goop.
So you sculpt it on a board. You build a wall. And seal it so nothing leaks out with like hot glue and basically foam board. That foam board stuff. Just make sure there's nowhere it could leak, and then you mix up the components, pour it in, let it sit overnight, pull it out. Make sure there's no clay in there. Then you mix your two, put some mold release in there to separator, just a silicone spray. Then you mix up your two urethane components, pour it in, and 20 minutes, pop out as many as you want.
Wow.
Yeah. You should do it. You should totally do it. I know. With now your frames, it would be crazy. With those like crazy, you've got.
With the arches and stuff.
It'd be amazing. Like a big skull with like wings, and it could just be incredible. Yeah. Wow. So if you decide to go there, I've got links for like all the tools and the materials you would need. So just hit me up.
Yeah. I know. I remember you always saying too, when like this is years ago. I was talking to you about just how insane your sculpting is or whatever. And you're like, oh, it's easy. I don't know, dude. I think you've just been doing it for so long. You think it's because like what you do. Because I'm looking at the frame up there too, and I'm just thinking about the idea of like how you're repeating design and never mind designs. Like, but you're repeating designs on both sides. But then but when you're working on a sculpture, it's like you got to make sure that eye is the same as that eye.
Yeah.
That nostril and that nostril's the same.
But that's the thing. If you have say you have like a piece, you want to put a piece up here, and then you want to put the same piece, kind of like the same head down here, and like a head over here, and kind of the same reversed head over here. You just sculpt one,
and then just reuse it.
Duplicate duplicate casts and stick them on there.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of, it's fun when you have a bunch of molds. It's really fun because you can like pour parts of the molds up, and you can combine them to make new little sculptures, and you could add them to the sculpture if you have it's really pretty fun. It's like Legos or something. You can kind of when you get a backlog of molds, you can
and you can start to understand how they could work together,
right?
And this angle would make up this angle, blah blah blah.
I've got I'll like I said, if you need to know, just hit me up. I'll set you up.
Oh, definitely. I know, because you already talk about monster clay, and you talk about the other clay, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So
it's fun though, and like I think probably what I said before was what I always say is that it's easier than painting and drawing, because it's what you see is what you get, and you don't have to deal with creating the illusion of depth or perspective or lighting. You don't have to worry about how light falls. You don't have to worry about
Interesting.
because it's 3-dimensional. So it's like you don't have, there's this whole aspect of creating an illusion that's painting flat. You know, that's hard.
Yeah.
Making that horse look like it's,
Yeah,
the
coming
perspective's
out
correct. But if you had to,
but,
if you had to sculpt a horse, you would just sculpt a horse, and you wouldn't have to worry about how do I make the horse look like it's
turning like this or doing that,
or you know, the way that how do I shade this, the way that, you know, I paint the shadows here, and how do this lighting and shadow, none of that stuff you don't have to worry about. It's sort of like it's right there in front of you.
Yeah, I want to order clay. Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, to customize the frames that you do, you have to do it. Yeah, because it's like they're just it would be so, it's the easiest. It's so easy for the kind of frames you're doing.
Yeah.
It would,
I love that you like that too, because that's the same way that I try to be too. It's like you're saying basically like I should do something that's so signature to do, you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, obviously I'm not going to try to sculpt like you, but like, you know, it's cool. I dig it.
Well,
I love it.
It's you know, it just seems like it would be awesome. That's what's important, you know?
Yeah.
I think, I've always operated that way.
Yeah.
You know?
I've just, that's the same way with me. I never try to hide secrets, or if what I'm doing can help you and you can benefit from that, then absolutely. It's like, you know, we shall be sharing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if it ends up being to where, you know, I lose a sale because of something like that, that's not as important as what was gained from sharing. And I think it comes around in other ways, you know. It's not a consideration. It just seems like that's like old way of thinking, old world way of thinking, where you keep everything to yourself, and it's just kind of a new era where
nobody else is. Stay away.
We're all in this together these days, especially now, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, how about yourself? You got a show coming up, or?
No, I was supposed to. I usually do a solo in October around Halloween at Copro, and I had to cancel. I just told them I couldn't do it this year because I got to get this book done. Because this book is 4 years late. My Kickstarter. It's it got way behind on it.
It happens, man.
Yeah, it's just, so that's my primary goal. But again, it's like I had to put that down to work on the tool posters for the money that's gonna, you know, help keep me afloat. So, you know, it's just, I still got this pile of, I also have a bunch of commissions that I owe. So I'm trying to get everything done.
I'm in the same boat as you too. I mean, I got still, like I said to you the other night, I mean, I still have commissions from Salem that I am still fulfilling, you know, and it feels horrible, but it's, you know, but it's just that thing where, you know, I mean, that whole thing got so messed up anyways, but but within that time, it's like, then you're also trying to stay afloat. So you're you know, taking on other things or building or making stuff for your shop to try to hopefully make a sale. And it just, it's just a vicious cycle. But for me, I know whether it's my last dying breath, everybody's going to get what's coming, you know.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like, I know that I'm not going to rip anybody off, and that I'm not going to not deliver. It's just not in me to do that. I would never do that. Yeah. So it's like, I know that I'm going to deliver, but everybody else doesn't know necessarily that I am that way. Although I will say that 99.9% of the Kickstarter people have been totally cool about it and not hassled me about it. There's been like maybe 2 people that kind of wigged out, but you know, it's over I think between it's like 1,000 people or something. It's like everyone's being super cool about it.
Really cool about
Thank God.
Did you find a printer yet? Or are you still?
I figure I'm just gonna go with I forgot what they're called. It's the place that did my Black Magic book.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, there's a place in Long Beach which is like a local place that actually prints here, but it's like twice as much money.
Yeah.
And I would
I
love to do
US
that
too. Me too. Me too. The thing is it's just, I mean, honestly, everything that I found before was almost 4 times as
Oh,
much of
really?
like, having to print it overseas and stuff.
Wow.
And that,
Yeah.
and because I'm looking for a new printer myself for my next book, and um, I remember you shouted out one printer to somebody that I ended up checking out that printer, and I wrote them, and then
Was it
they
local?
got,
A local place?
I know, I think it was overseas.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's called
Yeah, that was it. Yep, pro
Pro
some.
something.
Yeah, yeah, and I saw they sent me a quote, but I don't think they like put in the actual quote. Like they talked about
Oh,
all these
really?
things, but so I got to get back in touch with them. But
Yeah. This is who Bainart uh,
yeah,
used, and
yeah.
the Black Magic book came out.
Oh, just beautiful. It's such
I
a
was so
gorgeous book.
happy with it. Thank you. I was so totally satisfied with that book that I'm thinking, why, I should probably just go with them. They're supposed to be like a good Chinese company. Like they treat their workers well. They've gotten
Yeah,
all these
that's
awards for being good to their employees, and they're really good. And they've done a lot of good. They do a lot of artist books.
yeah.
So I'm probably going to end up going with them. It's just, it's so scary to be doing something overseas like that, where you just
Hmm.
don't have any control over anything. And
And it's also alone. Usually it's quite a bit of time before
yeah,
you get the
right.
product. So yeah, I would just love to have it printed in the U.S. because it's just be great to support.
Yeah, I know.
Like
I know.
and also be able to have that printed in the U.S. type of thing. But it's astronomical. Like
Yeah.
the quotes that I've gotten before in the past to do it.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize it was 4 times. I think it was like, I know for what I was looking for. Yeah. It was like, I think it was double, but that's actually you're probably right. It probably is more like 4 times the amount.
Yeah.
Because my friend had books made at this local place, and I was just kind of using his quote. But now that I think about it, his book wasn't the same quality as the Black Magic book, as far as
Hmm.
like the way the cover was and all the
That
embossing and the color and the
yeah.
pages with the silver on the side,
Yep.
black, metallic, and all that. So it's probably
Yeah.
yeah.
You even have the inside of the book with, I forget what they call it, the leaf, I think it's called, or something.
I don't know.
Like where you have the gas mask, like
Yeah, on the inside
yeah,
of the
yeah,
yeah.
pages. Yeah.
Luckily, I mean, I've got the graphic designer. I don't have to deal with any of that because I have this graphic designer
Oh, that's
who's amazing. Who's Mackie Osborne, who's Buzz Osborne from the Melvins, his wife.
Oh wow, awesome.
She does
Awesome.
all the Melvin stuff. She's fucking incredible. She's brilliant, and so she deals with like,
Did she do the last book
yeah,
too?
she did the Black Magic book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's like that's why that book looks so great, is because she designed it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, but I know you do all like the layout yourself and stuff, right?
Yeah. I'm happy I learned how to do it.
No,
but
I
it'd be
know.
nice to have somebody else do it. But I learned how to put together big PDF files and
Yeah,
high res, and
What program did you?
I did everything in Photoshop. A lot of people use, I think, I don't know
really?
if it's Illustrator or
Or
some,
Yeah, there's some. It might be Illustrator. There's some program that's made for books.
yeah, yeah. I just did everything like that, and
Maybe it is
and
Illustrator.
well, with Photoshop, and then and then in Photoshop you can make, you build a folder, and then you can make it just a giant
Well,
PDF
shit,
of everything.
I know Photoshop. I could have done it in Photoshop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just assumed.
I mean, it's
pay her
probably
to do
better
it.
to do it the other way if you got to make changes or something, but who knows? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing is like she knows, like they're coming back at her with, oh, what thickness do you want this?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
what bond, blah blah, number 472, and she knows what all that stuff
Yeah.
means.
GMS.
Yeah,
all
and so
those
she
colors.
deals with
Yeah.
that. So that's
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm just like, just get me like the thickest pages you got. And I don't want it to be too shiny, but I don't want it to be real matte either. Oh yeah, you want this? Okay, yeah. Cool. I want that gold stuff. Yeah. Foil. Oh, all right. Yeah, foil.
exactly. But
Yeah.
didn't you recommended that one place that ended up
Yeah,
being?
then they ended up.
But they did good for you.
They did a beautiful. Only bad things that I'm sure you probably received some of them too. But like I got, and couple boxes. I still haven't even opened up all the boxes yet either. I mean,
Okay.
I don't have very many left, but but definitely had some boxes with damaged books in it,
Mm.
which is kind of a bummer because you're like, whoa, that's, I could give that away, but I can't
Right.
sell it,
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that. But they did a beautiful printing job. Like
Huh.
none of the, like the everything came out great. I was so bummed when that happened with them because I was like, oh man, I was like, you know, because it was so affordable, compared to a lot of other
Right.
places that I've checked out and stuff. And I already had a relationship with them
I
too, so I was
know. What
like,
a bummer,
this would be
man.
great to just jump in. Let's do the next book, and then all that stuff happened with them
Yeah. Yeah.
not printing people's books and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's too bad.
yeah, yeah, because Damien had a really really rough time with them, and then I had to.
Oh,
Well, I
yeah.
didn't have to, but I got involved because I was like, yo, man, I recommended you guys to him. What's going on, man? Like, this is not okay, and all that stuff. So,
Did they take care of him eventually?
they did. They
Oh,
did. They
good.
got it
Good.
like within that time, probably within a couple weeks later, he ended up getting his books. So
Oh, good. How's he
yeah,
doing? Have you talked to him
he's,
lately?
he's good. He's good. Yeah, I connect with them. A lot of texting. We don't hang
Yeah,
out
I
nearly
know.
as much as we were,
He's a
but
texter.
even before this, yeah, exactly. Just so it's
Does he
always
live
sending me
near you?
funny shit. Yeah, well, yeah, he's in Manhattan, but
Okay.
pretty close. It's about 15-minute, 20-minute train ride.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, not far at all. So,
They're doing
but
good. He's got a new podcast. I heard.
yeah, that
I
was
haven't
pretty.
heard it yet.
I checked out the first one. I
Hmm.
haven't. I think he's got a couple more episodes out since that one.
Are they
But
talking
yeah,
magic and stuff?
no, well, the first one they just were talking about. The first one was with him. Kevin Wilson is like the main guy he's doing it with, and
Oh,
then
I didn't know that.
they had Randy from Lamb of God was on it, and then they had a fire. I want to say a firefighter in New York City, who's like always works on like kind of like disaster sites and stuff like that. So, well, that's probably not the right word, disaster, but like when like a tornado comes in or something
Right.
else, like and they need to but it was very cool. It was short. It was only like 35 minutes long or something,
Hmm.
but they just talked about what's going on and the crisis of
Oh,
what
okay.
he's going through and stuff. So, but yeah, it was cool. It was cool. So I don't know if the other ones are more magic based or but
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm gonna have to listen.
yeah.
That's why I wanted to get into yours a little bit too before we go. We're getting up to 2 hours. Time
Wow.
flies, man. We haven't talked.
Holy smokes.
I looked on. I looked on the Skype. It says like how I looked your name up on Skype and it says chatted over a year ago. It's like we haven't talked in like
Wow.
over a year.
That's
Um,
nuts.
but
I think because I see you so much online all the time, it
yeah,
feels like you always, you know what I mean?
yeah,
You know?
right. I know exactly. Like we kind of know what's going on in each other's lives somewhat
Yeah.
from the updates on
Sending a random
Patreon and
text. Hey, Chet, what are the name of those
yeah,
paintbrushes?
exactly, exactly. But you've got a great new pod, or it's not new now. You've been doing it for a while, but
Yeah.
Gimme
We're
Babble
trying to get back
podcast.
on the horse. So, dude, like, we friggin' went like 4 months without putting out an
Oh,
episode.
really?
Yeah.
So do
Yeah.
you just?
Because
It's called Gimme
well,
Babble. It's with Stoupakis and David Hochbaum.
yep.
There's another artist from back in the. I know him from back in the Strychnine days.
Yep.
Eh,
Yep.
eh,
Yep. Back in the old days.
Yeah, and it's really a great podcast. It's cool because it's like it's different than the other podcasts.
Yeah.
Like you're fielding questions on like voicemails and
Yeah.
you've got music and it's funny too. You guys are
Yeah.
very entertaining.
Yeah. It's more just like a hang,
Yeah,
and it's like
it's cool.
we talk about art related stuff here and there and we're both artists as well, so we that definitely comes up, but it's just more of like us just kind of being able to hang out because David used to live in Manhattan, and I would hang out with him at his studio all the time.
Oh,
I'd always
really?
bring work over there to work on, and we just hang out, shoot the shit, and all night until wee hours in the morning, and then so when he moved away, it became to be a bummer because like I spent quite a few days over there a week sometimes,
Oh,
and
wow.
so we kind of wanted to, and even back then we were always kind of like trying to record these conversations, but they usually turned out to be these real drunken like like make no sense type of
Right.
conversations and stuff like that. So So we never really did anything with that, and it's a good thing we didn't, I'm sure. But so we wanted to connect again, and that was kind of our way to this now connect and like, yeah, let's do that podcast we were talking about all this time. So
That's cool.
so yeah.
Where did he move to? I didn't know
He's living in Boston now.
Oh, I had no
Yeah.
idea.
So it's weird because that's where I'm from.
I know, right?
You know, and he's originally from New York, so you know.
What a trip.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But
so you do them just kind of like whenever, you don't have a schedule
So-
on them?
yeah, so it was Mondays, and I want to get it back to Mondays. I'm going to try to finish editing tonight our most recent
okay.
episode. Well, we have 2 episodes in the barrel,
Oh,
but but so I got to get it back on to do Mondays and got to get back to a regularity, because if you're going to record a podcast, it's definitely important to be constant.
Yeah.
You know, not good to fall off. You know,
Yeah.
that's definitely how you lose listeners and all that stuff. But we got a bunch of great people that support us, that call in with questions,
Yeah.
or they'll or email in with questions and voicemails and stuff like that. But so now we're gonna get it back on the road and start getting back on track again, you know. But so yep, normally it's every Monday. I'll probably release this new episode, you know, maybe Friday or something like that, and then get back to Monday again.
Cool.
You know?
Cool. Yeah.
But-
I'll have to
Oh,
listen.
that doesn't Chet. The thing was initially what happened was because of the old podcast. I was like, look, man, like when we can do it, and like I don't want this to be stressful, and I just want to have fun, and that's kind of how we have gone. So that's why sometimes it's a little, you know.
I understand that. Believe
Right.
me, every once in a while, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing this
I know.
once a week? This is insane.
Dude, are you editing them yourself?
I don't really edit them unless there's something that goes wrong. I don't listen to them or edit them really. I mean, I record a separate intro. I put that, but it's like I do it
just cut, slice.
Yeah, I basically replace the footage because I use Adobe Premiere to do it, because I don't really know I don't know audio programs very well.
Yeah.
But I know Adobe Premiere really well, so I just use that. And so I have a template, and I just kind of replace the footage. I replace the audio footage, so it's just automatically in there, and the levels are usually right. So I just kind of do it that way. So it doesn't take, takes maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes to put one
that's
together.
great.
Yours is very production heavy, though. You've got like
sometimes, but even sometimes it's like, you know, we go like, hey, I'm gonna go get another cup of coffee, and then it's like, you know, I got 10 minutes of us, you know, like not being there, so it's like, shit, I gotta find that place.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
The whole episode. And then with us too, we have some of our episodes as well, like yours, where they can be like 2 hours long. So I'm like, oh god, because I can't stand listening to my own voice.
Oh,
either.
I know, it's
like,
terrible. I never, that's part of the reason I don't like to edit, is because I don't want to hear my own voice.
Yeah,
like, I never listen to the podcast afterwards. I never, unless I have to for editing, but otherwise I don't.
Yeah, unless something went wrong or whatever. Yeah, sure.
You know,
yeah,
it's bad. It's bad enough getting a movie. You know, having to see your movie, that documentary, over and over.
Oh,
for the film festivals. Oh god, in front of a bunch of people, that was the worst. It was.
Did you help edit it too when you guys were doing?
Yeah, I mean, eventually Mike just came and he was like, I'll make this about you. I'm cool. Just let me, have approval on things. And then as time went on, I kind of was like giving input, and then I sort of ended up taking like an executive producer role towards the end of it, helping to shape it and giving my input. So I had to watch scenes over and over, and oh my god, it's painful. It was painful. And then going to see it on a big screen for a few film festivals was just like it was.
Just call me in when it's over. Right? No, that's
totally, man.
Yeah,
it was painful. It was like an endurance test. But
totally. you do kind of get numb after a while.
Yeah.
Like you're just like,
yeah.
So it just becomes to be that white noise.
There's my stupid laugh again.
Yeah.
So I have. Does Hawkbomb, has he softened his stance on Patreon yet? Because I wanted to come on and debate him about Patreon, because every time I hear him talk about Patreon, I'm like, I've got a point. I've got
I
a
know.
point that will counter what you just said.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I want to debate him.
You got to get him on.
Totally.
Have the Patreon debate. Nah, you know, we haven't talked about it in so long, but like, I'm just like, yeah, here we go again.
But, you know what? You should start a Gimme Babble Patreon and then watch him change his tune when when he's getting money from it.
I think he actually even had that idea at one point. He's like, you can, you know, if you want to run it, you keep all the money or whatever. I was like, I have a hard enough time running my own Patreon. I don't want to start.
I know, right? I know.
That's like, you know, because he was thinking, because we have so much like excerpts and other things that we have never put out, you know,
need like an assistant or something to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. I just got back in the rhythm of like running my own again, where I felt like, now I feel good about it. Okay. I feel like I'm like actually putting out content and I'm putting videos out and I'm doing that, you know, and that, but it's so much work, you know, like, especially when you're putting videos together, and I can't imagine what you're doing. Cause you have so many different like perks of like, cause you do the what's it called when you
the mentorship and the
mentorship
tutorials, which I'm behind on. It's hard. Like I need to readjust my thing so that I have too many categories. Like you're supposed to put 5 or less. They recommend now, and you're supposed to start your lowest one at $2 instead of $1. They tell because of how much money like. They take, I forget, like out of every dollar, because of the credit card charge, they take like 30 cents of every dollar or something. And if it's a $2 charge, they only take, it's like the percentage that they take is way less from $2 than it is from $1. So they recommend starting low at the $2 level for your, anyway, there's just like.
Do you have a dollar? I have a dollar one. Do you have a dollar one?
Yeah, I have a dollar, but I like being able to say it's only $1 a month. That's kind of cool. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's so cheap. It's hard to say no to that because it's so fucking minuscule. But at the same time, I don't know. I need to. When things get busy, it's hard to keep up with. You know, with.
Oh,
I have a vision for it, how I'd love it to be, but I haven't been able to fully get that to where I'm just like streaming every day and I'm doing. You know, I have a vision for it. Same with the Dark Art Society one. I just haven't been able to make it happen yet.
It's like you literally need a team to do it.
Yeah.
You know, but then it becomes to be the thing. Well, it's not. It's
got to make enough money to hire a team.
It's not making enough money exactly to have a team yet. So it's you run into that whole kind of situation.
But if you were going to get a team, you'd probably be able to make more money with it because you'd be putting more content out. So it's like it's that tricky space.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to keep you any longer. We're over 2 hours, and you've been extremely generous. I really enjoyed talking with you. Yeah, it's been, this would have been a conversation I would have enjoyed regardless of whether we were recording it.
Yeah.
Probably would have gone exactly the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just felt like a conversation.
Everything we would probably have done, and it's great. It's great to see too that we're still in it. We're still doing it because we've been doing this for a long time, man. And it's really exciting when you see people that have not given in or given up, or I mean, I don't think either of us have it within us to do that because we love doing it too much. But it's cool to see because I mean I remember I never did the Cannibal Flowers, but I was in that same kind of group,
right?
And we both started showing right around the same time.
I know that's when we met. I knew of you from. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've known you a long time, and I have known you a long time. Actually, it's been a long freaking time.
Yeah. So thank you so much, dude, for having me on.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
This is awesome.
Thank you thank you for coming on and you just being such a cool person. You have such an amazing reputation. Everybody loves you. Everybody loves you.
I don't know.
Just
I'm sure there's people out there that
I know one person that might not love you, but everybody generally, everybody loves you. Everyone always has nice things to say about you. I never hear a bad word about you. So, and your artwork's as amazing as you are a great person. So I appreciate you as a friend, as an artist. You're amazing. So, and I know that, I know that the listeners are going to really appreciate you coming on and hanging for us for a couple hours with us. And hopefully you'll be at the Friday if you feel like it.
Definitely.
I'll be there.
Yeah, now I know how to set up my camera though. Before, like I because like I had it on me the whole time.
Well,
like it more on, but
most people had it on them.
Oh yeah, that's
you know
true.
what I mean. So they're just.
I was digging how people just had it on their work though.
Yeah,
I was like,
no. Exactly.
Yeah. Not that I don't want to see people.
I mean, it would be nice. That's what eventually we're gonna have to see how this evolves, but it'll be cool to have like each night one person gets the screen all night, or else every hour someone's screen is up to where you can see what they're working on every hour or something like that. It'll be cool to see how it develops. Right now it's just completely off the cuff.
There's also a cool thing though in there that you could do where it like showed all the boxes like on one screen. So like, I mean, granted you couldn't like, see everybody's work great because, you can only see these boxes, but that was pretty dope.
Yeah.
Because it was that other part where it scrolls, and then we had you on the big screen type of thing.
Right.
But it was amazing how many people were on there, man.
I know, it was crazy. And I'm sure it'll be, more people this Friday because people are starting to know about it. For everybody out there, if you want to get in on this fun time that we're talking about, this,
and you should.
Yes, Friday at this Dark Art Society paint jam we're starting to do every Friday. It's for Patreon subscribers only. So, if you want to join, you just go to patreon.com/darkartsociety. That means you, Hawk Bomb. Just kidding. So
I told him about it. He's like, no way you did. And I was like, yeah, dude, it was awesome. So he was like, oh, dude, you didn't tell me about it. And I didn't even, it's like, gotta
he'd be awesome if he came on, but he hasn't joined the podcast. He hasn't joined the Patreon. Okay, anyway, sorry. So yeah, if you want to get in on that, you get the podcast a day early. You get in the secret Dark Art Society cooperative group on Facebook, and there's some other benefits. Also, there's other benefits on the Patreon as well.
Yeah, you get to hear the episode. I don't know if you just said this and I spaced out, but you get to hear. Don't you get to hear the episode a day early or something?
A day early, and sometimes two days if I can get it done in time. Sometimes it's only the night before, but hey, I do what I can. But yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it. Plus, you support it so everyone can keep listening for free, and it's free for everyone. So, that's it. So, David, don't hang up. Don't hang up. So I can give you a proper goodbye after I stop recording. But thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, David. It was great catching up with you, and keep making that amazing work. And hit me up about frame sculptures.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I'm going to hit you up right after this. But thank you so much, everybody, for hanging in, for listening to me, and thank you so much, Chet, for having me on the Dark Art Society podcast, brother. I really, really appreciate it, man.
And thank you for inspiring me to create the podcast in the first place. Without David Stoupakis, this podcast wouldn't happen.
Yeah, well, you guys have gone leaps and bounds with this. Well, I mean, this podcast is huge, man.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Say goodbye to everybody.
Bye-bye. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.